Tomorrow you came in a wee bit tired and stuff, and then you kind of bounced back.
Night's sleep, yeah.
I know you were saying.
But it's all right. It's
You said you had fidgety feet.
It's restless feet.
Restless feet.
Yeah, it's not really restless feet. It's just a pain in my hip or something, but it's grand.
It just comes with age, Greg.
It is an age thing.
It is, yeah. What about a water bottle?
No, it's not like that. It's just anyone with restless feet will know what it is. It
restless feet.
From the hips,
Never heard that. Yeah. What did your feet be
restless
moving?
legs.
Right, your legs be shaking about all over.
No, you're just
bed.
about to fall asleep, and then it feels like your legs are moving.
You're a once-off on that one.
No.
That's a condition, is it?
Quite common.
Is it?
Yeah, but don't feel like you're going to be cancelled. Like, it's okay. You can laugh.
No, it's all right. No, it's so very serious.
It's like, what have I said something wrong?
No.
Do you want a quiz question?
Oh God, this is going to be
about music.
You know, I'm going to get this wrong then.
No, it's about music. I won't.
Well, definitely going to get it wrong then.
Okay. What has The Sound of Silence, Seven Nation Army, and Bohemian Rhapsody got in common?
Oh, how did you work this? I haven't a notion.
That's just coming in on the car this morning.
Oh, you heard it?
What have they got in common? No Googling.
No, I haven't a notion.
Okay, there you go.
What is it?
I'm not telling you. But you're not allowed to Google. You have to
Can somebody text in with the answer?
But they're not allowed to Google.
They're not allowed to give it to us again, and throw it out there again.
The Sound of Silence.
The Sound of Silence.
Seven Nation Army.
And
Bohemian Rhapsody.
That's very different.
Three big songs. You know all the songs, don't you? You could sing the whole way through.
So what do you want me to do? The three big songs?
Yeah, they are three big songs.
What do they have in common?
What do they have in common? Something very, very important in common.
Oh, God.
But it's not to do with writers. It's not to do with...
Beats? Nothing, no?
It's not to do with... It's not clever. It's just an answer.
Right. I bet you get the answer. Look,
yeah, but people... I don't want anyone Googling.
No. Right, no Googling? Right,
it's a Google-free one.
All right, Google-free. All right. When does that happen? But you're not going to tell us now?
No.
Right.
But you're not allowed to Google.
So how are we going to find out? You're going to have to give the answer then after 10 o'clock.
You have to think.
You have to give us the answer after 10 o'clock. We'll be listening.
All right, Lee, have a great one. Friday tomorrow again. What's going on?
Because it's just another day of the week.
Just one day follows the next, I suppose. All right, take care, Lee.
Good luck.
Have a great day. Love to all. All right, it's the 9 till noon show here in Highland Radio. And at 9 o'clock, let's get a news update. And it is over to Michaela Clark.
Thanks, Greg. Good morning. There's renewed calls for the planning objection fee in Donegal to be increased. Councillor Michael McLaughlin has called for the cost to rise from €20 to €500. It was argued by Councillors Micheál Colmcille Asbug and Declan Meehan at this week's plenary meeting of Donegal County Council that increasing the fee to such an amount would make the process inaccessible to people. The matter is due to come before the next planning SPC. Councillor McLaughlin says the process has become somewhat farcical.
There's people objecting as far away as Argentina to people doing stuff here in Donegal. There are people from other countries as far away as Cork, elsewhere, objecting to us here in Donegal. This kind of madness has to stop. There's neither rhyme nor rhythm to it, and many of the things.
A leading figure in the Kinahan gang is being escorted back to Ireland after being extradited from the United Arab Emirates. Dubliner Sean McGovern was one of 7 members of the organised crime group who was named and sanctioned by US authorities in 2022 before being arrested in Dubai last year. The 39-year-old is described as one of Ireland's most wanted criminals and is facing charges in connection with the murder of Noel Kerwin in Clondalkin, Dublin in 2016. Michael O'Toole, crime and defence editor with the Irish Daily Star, says he's also facing a number of gangland charges.
So that's significant. Directing a crime gang can carry up to life. Now, you'll know that murder is a mandatory life sentence, but that is a very, very serious sentence, and it also carries, it's up to the judge's discretion, but upon conviction, if there is a conviction, that can also carry a life sentence.
A US court has blocked Donald Trump from imposing tariffs on imports. The 3-judge panel said the US president exceeded his authority with the plan. Previously, tariffs had to be approved by Congress, but Donald Trump argued he had the power to act because of a national emergency. Harris Tweed representatives from the Shetland Islands have been visiting Donegal as part of an ongoing programme to train weavers in the county. Councillor Martin Harley says the visit is doubly important because it highlights the campaign to secure designated EU status for Donegal Tweed. He says the protected geographic recognition would bring economic benefits to Donegal and ensure that inferior products manufactured elsewhere cannot be labelled as being Donegal Tweed.
For years, it could be products that were being made in Morocco. They were taken back to different parts. They were stuck a label on them, made in Ireland, because they were boxed in Ireland. If you only have 15% of your workforce works in a certain country, then you can put whatever label you like on it then. So this is important here, and an inferior product will damage the product of Donegal tweed going forward. And this is something that's been there for 100 years. So we need to protect that, and this needs the PGA status in place now.
Weather now today will be mild, breezy, humid and mostly cloudy with outbreaks of rain and drizzle. Some drier, brighter intervals will develop this afternoon with highest temperatures of 15 to 17 degrees. That's all from Highland Radio News for now. We'll be back with news again at 10 o'clock. Until then, good morning.
Are you a community hero? Return is championing over 3,000 community initiatives across Ireland's cities, towns and villages with our Small Town Big Difference campaign. For your chance to win €2,000 for your local community group, tell us how your initiative is making an impact in your local area with the deposit return scheme. T's and C's apply. Visit return.ie/heroes for more information.
And now, it's time for the talk of the Northwest, the 9 to Noon Show with Greg Hughes on Highland Radio.
Hello, good morning, and you're very welcome along to Thursday's 9 till Noon Show. It is Thursday the 29th of May at 5 minutes past 9. Caroline thinks the year's going really quickly. I was sort of saying I think it's going about right, not too fast, not too slow. I don't know how you're feeling about it. Anyway, hopefully this weather's going to pick up soon. The outlook for the weekend, not fantastic, but look, we had a good spell and I'm sure the good weather will return. But nonetheless, we're indoors and we'll crack on with the show today, and it is the usual mix of the top stories, breaking stories, champion causes, speaking to people in the community, everything that you've come to expect from the show over the next 3 hours. And we want you involved in the conversation, or indeed starting your own conversations. 08660 25,000, 08660 25,000, or give us a call on 07491 25,000. Comments at highlandradio.com is another way to get in contact with us, especially if you're listening to the podcast or the overnight replay. We can pick up your comments and carry them through to the next live show. And of course, you can watch the show on the usual platforms, YouTube, Facebook, and on X. It's Thursday, and you know what that means. There's tons of papers out, lots of locals, lots of nationals, the Farmers Journal, etc. Let's start with the Tyrconnell Tribune, and they're focusing on the health story and health stories. Deputy Paul McLaughlin has attacked the Sealta decision not to recommend Letterkenny as the location for the Northwest Surgical Hub as an utter disgrace that flies in the face of the facts about population base and the workload of Letterkenny University Hospital. And Caroline, maybe reach out to the Health Minister again just to find out what her office believes the status of that situation is. He said instead they've identified the need for an ambulatory centre at LUH. Sealta's decision is catastrophic and it's a barefaced excuse to justify the loss of the hub. The new proposal is only to upgrade daycare services at LUH. This proposal has no approval, no timeline, no funding, no planning, and it relegates the people of the county to second-class citizens. McLaughlin says the real question the Sealta officials must answer is why the chief executive, Tony Canavan, recommended Sligo in the first instance, and he must explain why Letterkenny was excluded. He said Donegal politicians never wanted to exclude Sligo. The critical mass of population and the workload of LUH, along with the remoteness of this county, is the best business case any county needs to make. No other county in Ireland has a bigger need for a surgical hub. Strong argument, hard to dispute. On the Donegal News this morning, fears that there could be a possible downgrading of the fire service in Letterkenny have been eased, at least in the short term. Members of Donegal County Council heard this week that a review of the workings of the fire service in Letterkenny is currently underway and is due to be completed in mid-July. In recent months, a number of local councillors have expressed concerns about possible changes to Letterkenny Fire Station, including some speculation in relation to the number of fire-related appliances based there. Now, of course, we spoke to, it wasn't local reps, we did speak to them as well, but it was the fire personnel themselves, and they were very clear that in the wave that followed improvements in terms of their work-life balance, what they get paid and what have you, that following on from what seemed like a success to that, to implement that, it would mean a reduced service. But it seems that's been somewhat deferred, which is good news, and it's good to speak out and it's good to raise these issues publicly because it does make a difference, and I think it has done in that situation. The Derry news this morning: a Derry primary school was forced to close yesterday after the discovery of a suspicious package. Ebrington Primary School and Nursery took the precautionary decision to close after police received a report shortly after 10:15 a.m. after the suspicious package in the area. Cordons were put in place in the area of Heron Way with Nelson Drive. The roads were closed, all homes evacuated during the security alert. Following examinations carried out by ammunitions technical officers, police declared the package to be a hoax device. On to the Nationals now, and the circle or the net is closing in on the Kinahans, the likes of Daniel Kinahan, etc., because one of the alleged leading lights in the Kinahan cartel has been taken from Dubai and is on his way back from Ireland. And for a long time, Dubai was seen as, well, for going back a couple of years ago, Spain was the place, if you were under the scrutiny of Gardaí, that you could flee and operate your businesses. Then the net closed in on Spain, and a lot of people who operate the criminal world decided to go to Dubai. And you would have remembered that Ireland and the UAE came up with an agreement that would allow people to be deported. That's happening now. So what you're going to do is the places that people trying to evade the authorities can go are limited. Russia probably would be the next stop if I were trying to flee. But Sean McGovern, it's not a name really that's on the front pages all of the time, but he's one of the senior figures, if not the senior figure, outside of the Kinahans in the Kinahan cartel based in Dubai. Well, he's been extradited from the United Arab Emirates after being in detention there since last year. The Dubliner, who's 39, was on a Defence Forces flight on an Air Corps Airbus C295 last night. The flight left the international airport in UAE at 8 p.m. As the plane must refuel several times. It's not expected to arrive in Ireland until later today. The plane departed. I don't really need to know where the plane went. News of the extradition was taking place News the extradition was taking place only emerged after the plane had taken off from the UAE. The authorities in Ireland feared advanced publicity may have derailed the operation on the UAE side. On arrival in Ireland, McGovern is due to be brought to the Special Criminal Court to be remanded in custody pending trial for murder and directing organised crime linked to the Kinahan Hutch feud. And the sense is that if this is successful, and it has proven successful, that Daniel Kinahan and others in that group will be next. Closer to home, although that is a home-based story, and latest figures from the Dublin Rape Crisis Centre, it's led to them warning that the increase in toxic masculinity on social media is feeding the growth of violence against women being seen in sexual assault treatment units. This is something we should all be concerned about. We all have a responsibility here, and it is happening. You know, it can't be explained away or blamed on a certain group. We are seeing an across-the-board increase in sexual assaults, sexual violence, and it can't be mitigated by saying this, that, or that. It's right across society. The charity said in its annual report yesterday that calls to its helpline had jumped 22% to over 22,000. There was a corresponding increase of 28% in clients seeking therapy following rape or sexual violence, with the figure reaching 637 last year. Rachel Morrow, CEO of the Dublin Rape Crisis Centre, said figures from sexual assault treatment units around the country last year showed that 4 in 10 of the people they looked after were subjected to physical restraints. 7% were restrained by the throat, and weapons were used in another 7% of cases. We believe, they say, these are very worrying signs that there is something happening in Irish society that requires urgent attention and action from all of us. And it is the assaults themselves, but it's the nature of them as well. The very serious trends that need to be addressed. On to the Irish Daily Mail, and I'm glad now, locally and nationally, we're talking about the real issues in relation to housing. You know, it's about the facilities. And I've been banging this drum for years. It's about connection to water. It's about connection to the sewers. It's about connection to the electricity. Interesting to hear Paul Canning this morning on our news talking about how we could be doing things better and fixing problems early on to get buildings built, so to speak. But nationally and down the country, in fact, Uisce Éireann has warned water shortages will hit all customers in Dublin in the next 5 years due to critical infrastructure issues. The chief executive of the utility, Niall Gleeson, has written to Housing Minister James Brown seeking an urgent meeting over the matter. Mr Gleeson fears a multi-billion euro proposal to pump water from the River Shannon into the Greater Dublin area to meet growing demand could be delayed for several years by planning objections from environmentalists. And that's Dublin, but here locally we know our water infrastructure is on the brink. It wasn't dry for very long before the Milford water supply, a hose water pipe, went in place there. Another week of bad weather saw concerns over the water supply in Downings, Carragart, in Buncrana, in Letterkenny, and was it Ballabafay, Stranraer? Anyway, there was a few of them, I think so. So, we're on a tipping point here as well. We've got very little resilience. If it stops raining for any period of time, we're in bother. So I would suggest that we have also issues with connections to water and the development of property in this county as well. And that's where the investment needs to be. But it's going to take a long time to fix unless there's a huge political will to fix it. And it's going to mean that the housing crisis is going to continue to worsen. The Farmers Journal this morning, 7 farms received BIS payments of over €100,000 in the 2024 fiscal year, according to the Department of Agriculture's latest CAP beneficiaries list. The CAP change that took effect in 23 means that BIS payments are limited to $66,000 per farmer, but in the case of multi-herd partnerships, the cappings is applied at individual herd number level. The largest BIS payment in the country went to Talon Farm in County Meath, which received 120 grand plus change from BIS alone and 166,000 in total CAP payments. There is a list there. I don't see any reference to anyone closer to us here. That nature of farming probably more prevalent down the country. On to the Irish Daily Star this morning, and I referenced this yesterday. Didn't get any contact from anyone that this affects, but anyway, thousands of J1 students have been warned that they will be denied entry to the US or deported in a social media crackdown. J1 students go to America for work every summer, but under a new US process, applicants' posts, shares and likes will be screened. It means US government officials will snoop on Irish students' social media activity, and their J1 applications will be denied for expressing thoughts that the US administration does not agree with. And everyone talks about the thought police and blah, blah, blah. Well, I don't see those who are pro free speech or pro Trump, for that matter, speaking out into relation to this. We have a government who are going to be going through people's social media to ensure that it aligns with the views of the US administration. I mean, that's not free speech, is it, by any stretch of the imagination? But we did give you warning about a couple of months ago, tidy up the social media, because we did predict that this was coming. The move has seen America's further slip into authoritarianism under President Donald Trump. Senator Laura Harman, Labour's higher education spokesperson, branded Trump's move deeply worrying. So there you go. You have to be careful what you say on social media now. But even if you express yourself, so even if you, say, for instance, had, very genuinely held pro-Palestinian feelings, not that you're going to go and do any harm with that, but even if you just were anti-Israel and pro-Palestine on this issue, you could find yourself being refused a J1 visa into the United States, which is not freedom of speech by any stretch. Do you remember that €150,000 Ryan Tubridy got? Well, he never paid it back. He still has that €150. And he has got a book podcast. And who was a guest on his book podcast? And they were laughing and cajoling and all that kind of stuff. Only our very own Taoiseach Micheál Martin. So whilst Tubbs owed, effectively, he doesn't owe it, but he would be asked to hand back this 150k to RTE, which is funded by you. Taoiseach Micheál Martin was chewing the breeze with him on a podcast. And reading the article here, Taoiseach Micheál Martin has defended taking part in former RTE broadcaster Ryan Tubridy's podcast, as he said he will not join in a witch hunt of the star. At an Oireachtas Media Committee meeting yesterday, RTE Director General Kevin Backhurst confirmed the presenter never returned €150,000 that he said he would during the financial scandal. In 23, it emerged Mr. Tubridy's salary was underdeclared by €340,000 over a 3-year period due to a tripartite agreement between the star and his agent Noel Kelly, RTE and Renault. Now, the side deal saw RTE underwrite a €75,000 commercial deal with the car giant, while Renault paid Mr. Tubridy for year one. RT ended up giving him 150 grand over and above. He said he would return it. It never came back. Micheál Martin doesn't want to get involved in a witch hunt of the star and took part in his podcast. Nice bit of insulation if you can get it. And finally, the jury in the Richard Satchwell murder trial will return to the Central Criminal Court today for a third day of deliberations. They're taking their time on it. It's a big decision, but into day 3. The 7 women and 5 men have so far spent 4 hours and 42 minutes considering their verdict. Mr. Justice Paul McDermott sent the jury out at 10:40 a.m. yesterday, but by 4 p.m. they had yet to reach a verdict in the case. Trucker Satchwell, 58, has pleaded not guilty to murdering his 45-year-old wife Tina at their home at Yeovil County Court between March 19th and March 20th of 2017. I'd say they'll probably come back with a decision today. All right, our first guest on the show just around the corner.
Daily newspapers are courtesy of Cosgrove, Centra and Diner, Mountaintop, Letterkenny.
At Cherrymore Kitchens and Bedrooms, Donegal Town, they have fantastic packages on full home renovations. Whether you're looking to update your kitchen, bedroom or living room, visit cherrymore.ie, proud sponsors of today's show.
Maybe you're walking home with a guy you really like after a night in the college bar. Or maybe you and another fella are heading back to his in a taxi after meeting in a club. Or perhaps you've gone home with someone after a really great 4th date. There are lots of times and places where we need to say what we want and what we don't want. Whatever the moment, have the consent conversation.
A message from Cuan, a Government of Ireland agency.
We carry those up long before the day breaks, who make our lives better, whatever it takes. And for those who need some extra assistance, we'll get you on board. We'll go the distance. With new electric vehicles, quiet and cleaner, our growing TFI network helps keep Ireland greener for the days of your life and the big nights out too. We're Transport for Ireland. We're transport for you.
A laptop with great power, brilliant performance and premium sound, all for just €429. At Ben Sweeney Euronics, get the refurbished HP EliteBook laptop with Windows 11, 32 gigs of RAM and 512 gigabytes of storage. Enjoy a crisp screen display and Bang & Olufsen audio for crystal clear sound. Perfect for work, study or play. All for just €429 with a 3-year warranty, only at Ben Sweeney Euronics, Port Road, Letterkenny and the shopping centre Dunlow.
Put your best foot forward for National Heritage Week. Organise an event that helps your community explore our foundations. From ancient stone to local song or something unique we can all enjoy. Register your event at heritageweek.ie today. National Heritage Week is a programme of the Heritage Council supported by the Local Authority Heritage Networks and the Department of Housing, Local Government and Heritage.
Highland Radio Time Checks brought to you by EirGrid, the operator and developer of Ireland's electricity grid. EirGrid, powering up communities, powering up Ireland. The time is
21 minutes past 9. I just want to say a very special birthday request to my mum, Annie Hunter from Mallinhead, who's 90 today. Happy birthday to you, Annie, from your 10 children, your 36 grandchildren and 9 great-grandchildren. Wow, what a legacy. 10 children, 36 grandchildren and 9 great-grandchildren. That's a handful of football teams in there. Happy birthday, Annie Hunter, up in beautiful Mallinhead. I hope you have a really enjoyable 90th birthday. And lots of love from us all here at Highland Radio. And I'm sure our listeners joining in on that. Right, Brenda has had a situation. I found myself in with a speeding ticket not so long ago, well, a few years ago now. Brenda, what happened? Good morning to you.
Yeah, good morning, Greg. Yeah, yesterday morning in the post, I got a reminder notice of a parking ticket that I was supposed to have, but it's from Dunleary on the 16th of May, and which I haven't been to at all. I was wondering what I should do about it.
And is there any photographic evidence? I don't know because I was falsely claimed. They falsely claimed that I was sorry. I didn't pay a parking fee going through one of the tolls down in Dublin, and there was actually a picture of my number plate. So someone had, duplicated plates or something like that. With the parking ticket, did they provide any evidence that your car was parked illegally?
It just it is alleged, and it gives my number plate number plate on it.
Right,
but
okay.
That's all it says. Yeah.
All right, and you weren't there. It's not you. What happens next?
Yeah.
Okay, well, we'll stick it out to the listeners. Brenda, you definitely weren't in Dunleary.
No.
Okay, and you don't want to waste your time sending off a letter going, it wasn't me. We really need to formulate the response correctly, isn't it? You don't want to waste any time, and you certainly don't want this racking up on you. Right, leave it with me. We'll put it out to the listeners and see what they have to say, Brenda.
Right, thank you very much.
All right,
for your time.
it's our pleasure. Okay, so can you help Brenda? She received a parking fine in the post this morning. It's a reminder. It lists her car registration, but she wasn't in Dunleary on May 6th. So what should she do? What's the most effective process next? Do you ring? Do you send a letter back? Do you have to provide evidence just to save wasting her time? Did I have to go to the guards and get something signed to declare it wasn't me? I think I might have had to dispute it. Because how else could I have proved it? I think I did. Did I go to the guards? Anyway, let us know. 08660 25,000. We have received so many texts as it relates to traffic changes in Letterkenny. Just the traffic congestion, generally speaking. And we have to respond to listeners. You know, I'm not trying to drag it on into another day, but I just want to catch up on a couple of these comments so everybody has heard. A caller says, in relation to approving the active travel proposals, I hope they haven't made another stupid mistake like on the Port Road. The Port Road is a disgrace. The emergency services have no room or anything. Well, plans are afoot apparently to drop the curbs on the 4 lanes coming in. I'm not sure about going out, to allow cars to mount the curb to let the emergency vehicles through. Isn't it great that they have so much money to spend on something to add to the backup of traffic, says another. Who are the brains behind this? Because they seriously need a new one. I've yet to see a bike on the one that's already there. This will be yet another tailback and late for appointments and work, so another hour or two now added onto your journey. The N2 rep Rebecca hit the nail on the head. We're talking about the Bonnigy Bridge for years and nothing will be done. And why? Because politicians representing the town have no clout in the Dáil. Remember the bridge in Fanad, which had been first proposed in 1890s, was only built as part of a political deal 100 years later. Let's hope the people of Letterkenny don't have to wait that long. We were also talking about the situation at Letterkenny University Hospital. This after it was overlooked for a surgical hub, which is sort of like a €60 million set project, which is ready to go and could be in place in a year or two. Sligo University Hospital, amongst a whole raft of other projects, is getting it. Letterkenny is not, and instead there are plans, ideas at this point, I think you could say, of a ambulatory centre, which is like a surgical hub. Ambulatory means that you walk in effectively, but it would offer other services as well. If it were delivered and if the funding was approved and we were told it'll be open, in the third quarter of 2026, it would be brilliant. But the problem is at this point, it's just a sketch, and there's no approval of funding. Well, you heard Deputy McLaughlin, how he described it on the front of the Tyrconnell Tribune. But a caller says it's obvious Letterkenny Hospital is being denied services because the majority of people in Donegal don't vote for government parties. Don't try to make excuses, as that is a fact. The question that needs to be asked, says another, is how do we attract young doctors to Letterkenny? All the services there need to be upgraded before we spend any more money. We've no concerts, etc. for them to attend. Another, I had surgery in Dublin. I said to my consultant that it was a shame that I couldn't get it done in Letterkenny. He said that it would never happen as young doctors want a life outside of work. There's nothing for young people in Letterkenny. Even transport is an issue. People have to travel to Dublin for concerts, etc. A few people talking of that. I certainly think in terms of attracting the right staff, the right qualified staff, work-life balance is a thing. We've an awful lot to offer and people want different things. It's just having the right staff at the right grades on the right contracts. That would help. But I appreciate your views and they're not wrong. Caller says, in a continuous influx of asylum seekers and refugees and new people are still arriving from Ukraine to Donegal, more medical cards, more pressure on the medical services. Not fair on these people, not fair on anyone. There's no housing for new doctors or nurses or general medical staff. The county is in crisis with Micah. It's not just about funding. We use more funding if this influx continues. Well, there are more people coming. It's not really an influx at this point. There's 2,000 odd international protection applicants in Donegal. It has increased by about 100 in a couple of months. I have the figures somewhere if you're interested in them. It's not like it's jumped from 2,000 to 3,000 to 4,000. It isn't in around the 2,000. I don't have the Ukrainian figures to hand at the moment, but I'm sure they can be dug out. But you're getting like sort of, 50 odd people coming into the country a week now, 70 odd, let's say, to be fair. Right, let me see. We'll take a break. Our next guest is going to join us on the show just after these.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook, and at highlandradio.com.
Bring your dream kitchen to life with Cherrymore. Discover functional, beautiful designs with a wide range of colours and styles to suit any project. Learn more at cherrymore.ie, proud sponsors of today's show.
You never know when barbecue weather will arrive. Or leave. But with Aldi's 100% Irish Board Bia quality assured barbecue range, you can be ready at a moment's notice. Like lean beef burgers, basted pork loin chops, and marinated chicken fillet kebabs. All for only $2.99 per pack. So go on, get summer started. Good food, good mood from Aldi, while stocks last.
Need finance for a van, bus, truck, forklift or construction equipment? Talk to someone who knows Donegal. Daniel Carlin at First Citizen Finance.
From small businesses to large operators, we finance a wide range of assets with flexible hire purchase or leasing options.
Call Daniel today on 087 2729 681. Proud sponsors of the Letterkenny Motor Show. Lending criteria, terms and conditions apply. First Citizen Finance DAC is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
The closing date for the Bus Air and School Transport online portal is Friday, 6th of June. The portal will close for 3 weeks after this date. To make a payment or enter medical card details, go to busaaron.ie/school transport. Ticket prices remain the same as last year. A late payment may mean that a school transport ticket is not available for your child. An initiative of the Government of Ireland.
Sprain, minor injury, cuts, burns, just not feeling well. Skip the hospital long wait. Get seen fast at the Ophidia Minor Injuries and Illness Clinic located at Scally Place, Letterkenny. No appointment needed, just walk in. We're open Monday to Friday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Charges will apply. Pay and reclaim with PHI. Ophidia, expert care when you need it. Visit ophidia.ie for more.
Don't miss Homeland Letterkenny's big pet event this bank holiday weekend. Enjoy 10% of all cat and dog food, plus 20% of all pet beds and mattresses, collars, leads, harnesses, also 20% off fish and reptile accessories. Offers valid in-store and online until June 2nd. Visit homeland.ie. Nationwide delivery available.
You're very welcome back to the programme. I mentioned to Lee Gooch from time and I think it's coming from my hips, and I'm not sure if it's actually restless leg syndrome. But anyway, I struggled to get sleep last night with that sense that you get. A caller says, this is a brilliant cure for restless leg syndrome. Full stop. It sounds mad. Put a raw potato in the end of the bed and your restless legs will be cured. That comes in from Jackie down in Cork. Jackie, thank you very much indeed. I do appreciate that. I shall give it a try. Why not? Next time I have any issue. Right, now we are joined on the programme by Mark Murphy. He's Senior Policy Manager with the Irish Heart Foundation. Mark, good to have you on the programme. Thank you for joining us.
Hi there. How are you?
I'm good. Right, now, you're urging the government, your group's urging the government to fast-track legislation to ban disposable vapes. They're coming into such measures are coming into effect in Britain, especially in a border county, actually, and I presume Britain in this case includes Northern Ireland. An alignment would be very useful indeed, as I say, particularly here in a border county. Why is the Irish Heart Foundation campaigning so vigorously on this issue?
Well, like you said, the ban is coming in on the 1st of June in the UK, and that includes all 4 regions of the UK, including Northern Ireland. And we believe Ireland should follow suit. The government have signalled, and they are planning legislation to ban these disposable vapes. But we know from other pieces of legislation, when there's a two-tier system on the island, it just causes confusion for retailers. It leads to people going across the border to get that product. So we think Ireland should ban disposable vapes in line with the UK. and follow suit as soon as possible, because we know that disposable vapes are increasingly popular with young people. They are tailor-made to target young people with their price, with their colors, with their packaging and their flavors. So, and we've seen an explosion of youth vaping pretty much in every county in Ireland. So, and the government has said they'll take action. We really welcome that, but we would just want to see it accelerated as quickly as possible.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, vaping, when it first came to my attention, was a means of eliminating smoking from your life, and then eventually to stop vaping. And smokers who smoked before might often be conscious of the nicotine content in the vape juice that they use and reduce it down, maybe 3, 6, something along those lines. But I looked at the back of some of these disposable vapes, and young people who've never ever smoked before, vaping 18, 25 milligrams of nicotine, like as addictive as that is, it's crazy, like that they've never smoked and now find themselves incredibly addicted to these products, which, as you say, quite clearly have been designed and marketed for them.
Exactly, and I think there is a place for e-cigarettes out there. If you're a long-term anti-smoker, been smoking for 40 years, and you tried every trick under the sun, but you're using e-cigarettes to quit smoking, that's great. But it's the way they're completely tailor-made, targeted for the young audience. And as he said, there are some products out there that are breaching the EU regulated rules of how much nicotine content there should be in there. And we know that nicotine is one of the most addictive substances on the planet. And nicotine exposure during adolescence can actually affect adolescent brain development. So there is a real youth risk there from using nicotine. So unfortunately, the horse is bolted, and we have a huge youth epidemic and a huge nicotine addiction among young people. So we're really trying to deal with the consequences now, and we're going to see more products coming out, because the industry that is in charge of this, they will exploit any loophole that there is to try and get around the legislation, to try and keep their profits up and to keep their customers addicted to this product. So we really need to be wary of any future innovative products that's coming on the market. Yeah,
for sure. And I also think we need to approach this in a multifaceted way. And it reminds me of when minimum unit alcohol pricing came in. I had concerns that this would drive people maybe towards drugs. You know what I mean? If it became now, those in I have to say, those in addiction services don't believe that this to be the case, but there's definitely been a spike in drug use that sort of coincides with one action to try and limit alcohol use. My concern is, when this is successful, we're going to have tens and tens and tens of thousands of young people that are addicted to high levels of nicotine. Now, there will still be vapes available, don't get me wrong, but are we factoring in the fact that maybe this might drive them towards cigarettes? We could find ourselves having the reverse of what older people are doing, transitioning from cigarettes to vapes. Young people having to service this really, really bad addiction. Could we see them transitioning from vapes to cigarettes? And if so, what are we going to do about it?
And that's a real concern, because no matter how harmful vaping can be, smoking is one of the worst things you can do to your body, and we really need to deter anyone from taking smoking. So I think there needs to be a dual approach, kind of a twin track approach to this. And the government have recognised this. And again, the UK, I'm going to look over to the UK. We need a dual approach where we regulate e-cigarettes. We bring in a ban of disposable vapes. We regulate flavours and plain packaging. We even look at increasing the legal age of vaping to 21. But then we look to what the UK is doing, and taking action on smoking. And the government has signed legislation that will increase the legal age of smoking from 18 to 21 in February of 2028. But we need more action on smoking. We need much more support. We need much more funding to go into cessation support to help people quit cigarettes. But in the UK, they are bringing through like world historic legislation in the Tobacco and Vapes Bill, which will ban the sale of tobacco to anyone born after the 1st of January 2009. And again, that's going to be applied in Northern Ireland. And we here in the Republic of Ireland, we need to kind of look at what the UK is doing and see if we can match up and be aligned on an all-Ireland system. So there is a huge concern that we can't push people back to tobacco smoking, because that is one of the worst things you can do to your body. So we need a dual approach to tackle e-cigarettes tackle tobacco products, but also be wary of any innovative products that are coming down the line from this tobacco industry.
In terms of, indoor smoking, etc., we were trailblazers in relation to that. Micheál Martin, I believe, was the Minister for Health at that time. He's now the Taoiseach. So, you would imagine there couldn't be a better person in situ at the head of the government to sort of take on board what the likes of the Irish Heart Foundation is saying. Is there any reason being given as to why we aren't moving as quickly on this as perhaps we should?
Well, you're right that we have one of the biggest supporters of tobacco and vaping control as Taoiseach. Micheál Martin, it's probably the most health-defining piece of legislation ever done in Ireland, or potentially in the world, the indoor smoking ban. So we do have a great supporter there, and he does recognise the issue. But I suppose it's just the matter of legislation takes time, unfortunately. The market is much quicker in terms of legislation. Legislation takes time in terms of drafting it, making sure there's no unintended consequences. But I would agree that we need to be much quicker, and the Irish state needs to be much more reactive and proactive in tackling vaping, innovative nicotine products, and tobacco. But there's no doubt that we have a great supporter there in Micheál Martin as the Taoiseach.
And finally, we know the dangers of smoking cigarettes, tobacco products, because we have time. We can reflect on what's happened over many, many years. Vaping compared to smoking is still in its infancy. Do we know yet at this point what the impact of long-term vaping can have on our bodies? Obviously you talked about there's the obvious danger. Inhaling high levels of nicotine as a young person, that's clearly, however you do it, not good, right? But is there any evidence yet that indicates its impact on heart health, for an example?
Well, there's definitely more and more evidence, because like that, the long-term evidence is starting to be put together. But compared to smoking, we don't have that kind of long-term evidence. But there is evidence shows that it can raise heart pressure, can raise blood pressure, but it can damage your blood vessels, your heart, even your brain and your lungs. So there is evidence there. The European Heart Journal published a report on this back in 2019. So there is evidence there that it is a health risk, particularly to your heart health. So the Irish Heart Foundation, we are worried that it will lead to significant health problems, potentially for this young cohort of people whose bodies are still developing, all their organs are still developing. So there is a concern there, and we need to take action.
All right, listen, thanks for all of your time. I do appreciate it. Mark Murphy, Senior Policy Manager with the Irish Heart Foundation. Right, now we got a call from a listener. My nephew was involved in a car crash. He never contacted the emergency services, but the other person did. One of the services that came out was the fire brigade. He's now getting a bill for €780 for the call out. He's only a student. Where's he going to get money to pay for that? There is an insurance claim in this incident. Can anyone advise about this charge? I thought emergency services were free. Well, of course, we made inquiries on this listener's behalf. And we got a response from Donegal County Council, and it reads as follows. A fire authority is entitled under Section 35.3 of the Fire Service Act 1981 to charge users or beneficiaries of a fire service for services which it provides to that end. Donegal County Council invoices the users or beneficiaries of its fire service for services which it provides. In this regard, the person who requests fire brigade assistance and the user or beneficiary may or may not be one of the same person. The council has a waiver scheme in place for eligible service beneficiaries and also accepts payments in instalments. Further information on the fire brigade charges can be got on the Donegal County Council website or by contacting the Fire Brigade HQ on 91216676. So what I would suggest is that you contact that number, talk of your son's financial. I think you can work with them. And if they insist on a payment, maybe it can be done in stage payments. But ring them up and explain the situation. We have the number here for you. And maybe given your son's financial circumstances or what, they might be able to work with you in relation to that. I was contacted also by another listener who was involved in a road traffic collision. Theirs is and I'd really like some help on this one because they're quite worried about it. Theirs is a Donegal-regged vehicle, and they were struck by a Northern Irish vehicle. And the Donegal-regged vehicle, they had no responsibility in relation to this. Someone came out of a junction and smashed straight into the side of them, Gardaí and all were on the scene. But then it comes down to the insurance companies, and they've attempted to make contact with the Northern Drivers Insurance Company, and the Northern Drivers Insurance Company has said that we won't engage with you. So their advice from their own insurance company is that they claim off their own insurance, and then their insurance company claims off the insurance company in Northern Ireland. And obviously the concern is that, through no fault of their own, they've no liability or responsibility, that they will potentially lose their no claims bonus. And of course, before you do that, you want to make sure you're doing the right thing. So has anyone else been out there, who's had a Northern registered vehicle, Northern insured vehicle collide with them in Donegal? And how did you, or how do you go about dealing with the insurance company? We're making inquiries in relation to that, but it's just in case that maybe you could help there. Now, if you think people are getting off boats or planes and handing medical cards, all you're showing is how much of a tax burden yourself is on the state. Only a dole lifer thinks it's easy as pie to get a medical card, that anyone can get them. Another caller says, tell the woman with the parking fine to ring the number on the fine. Sometimes if it's not your number plate, is between the numbers, the camera pick up wrong. So they're saying effectively it could be the camera picked it up wrong. This happened to me a couple of times, and when I told them the car I drive, they say, oh, the number plate is from another car. Right, okay, that's what you could do. And it's possible too, there is photographic evidence that might be a different colour vehicle, what have you. So ring the number on the fine and just simply explain to them that it's not your car. In relation to the parking ticket, I got a letter to say I didn't pay a toll on the way there and on the way back. I rang the company to make sure it was a legitimate document. I had to show them proof that I paid online. They had a picture of my number plate. If that lady wasn't there, don't pay it. I actually did. I actually remember now what I did. I think I had to get a sergeant in Glenties to I emailed. I must check that out to prove it wasn't me that went through the toll bridge. I had to get a guard up here to sign my statement that it wasn't me. It's not the Port Road or 4 lanes. It's called the Derry Road. Ask any native of the town and surrounding areas. Stop the stupid renaming of places in Letterkenny. Is the 4 lanes the Derry Road or the Port Road? I think in the wider scale of things, it's not the be all and end all, but actually those little things can be an annoyance. Okay, we're going to be speaking more on the show to our next guest on the show after these.
With 29 years of experience, Cherrymore is trusted across Ireland for exceptional quality and service. Let their expert team guide you from concept to completion. Cherrymore.ie, proud sponsors of today's show.
Are you a community hero? Return is championing over 3,000 community initiatives across Ireland's cities, towns and villages with our Small Town Big Difference campaign. For your chance to win €2,000 for your local community group, tell us how your initiative is making an impact in your local area with a deposit return scheme. T's and C's apply. Visit return.ie/heroes for more information.
Want a new Kia? Call to Heron Auto Donegal to arrange your test drive on our 252 Kia range, where quality customer care comes first. We have 0% finance available on all EV models. Visit Heron Auto on the Killybegs Road to test drive and order your 252 Kia and receive a €500 Super Value gift card. Drive with confidence. Drive with Heron Auto.
Easy Living Furniture's sizzling summer sale ends this Sunday. Don't miss out as absolutely everything's reduced across sofa, dining, bedroom, mattress and accessories. Summer sale ends Sunday at Easy Living Furniture, Crescent Link Retail Park, Derry, or online at easylivingfurniture.co.uk.
Mirror, mirror on the wall, Easy Living has it all. Easy Living Furniture, luxury furnishings, affordable luxury.
If you've got a smart meter, you should get an Electric Ireland smart meter plan too. Why? Because you can see a breakdown of your energy usage like never before. From heating, cooking, lighting and more. Now you can find out how much electricity you use by hour, day and type of appliance, making your usage clearer and your world brighter. Sign up to a smart meter plan at electricireland.ie. Smart meter required, T's and C's apply.
Highland Radio weather updates with McElhenny's. Get set for summer with all new arrivals dropping every week, from fashion to footwear and homeware to cosmetics. Discover more in-store or shop online at mcelhennys.com today.
So today, mild, breezy, humid and mostly cloudy with outbreaks of rain and drizzle, especially through the morning. Some drier, brighter intervals will develop this afternoon. Do we have enough respect for our Defence Forces? Well, Roisin Ní Cleary, founder of Confident Women, broadcaster and producer, is not so sure. In fact, I think you're quite certain that we don't. Is that fair to say, Roisin? And good morning to you.
Good morning, and hello to all your listeners in Highland Radio. No, I don't think we do. If you just look at how the Americans celebrate, and not just the Americans, but also many other nations around the world, they all have a day of a thank you for your service, or different days. Like in America recently, they had a Memorial Day. Just even look how they really respected their defence forces and the veterans or the members of the American military who died in active service or were veterans. So I think not. And I watched the Veterans Day last year, and I sent a proposal to the local politicians and asking them, could they put this in their campaign, their political campaign for the general election, to have an annual national thank you for your service day for the Defence Forces. If they would put it in their political campaign and also have it for the programme for government.
Yes, and I mean, we were reminded very recently and locally the risks that our armed forces take, or our Defence Forces take, I should say. Private Sean Rooney, of course, lost his life. And, you know, since then, other soldiers have gone out and faced the same risks, and others have returned. But that seems to sort of happen under the radar. You know, there's no sort of real recognition of that. Can you recall, Roisin, if that's always been the case? Or at one point, did we celebrate more the sacrifice and the risk that our Defence Forces take?
Absolutely. I grew up in Derry, and even Derry people, and close to Donegal, if you saw the Irish Defence Forces, you treated them with such respect. And then I also went to school in Naas in Kildare, and in the early 80s, and anyone who wore the uniform or anyone was in the Defence Forces was treated with the utmost respect from the general public, and politically, and within the media. And what I've noticed in the last, let's say 15 years, I'm living down in Kilkenny now, and I've noticed that there isn't the same respect, and there isn't even the same political goodwill and respect, honour and appreciation for the integrity and the respect that members of our Defence Forces put on their uniform every single day with the tricolour on their left arm, and they go into the barracks and they salute the flag. And most of all, and importantly, they joined the Irish Defence Forces to protect the nation, to defend the nation and protect the citizens. What an honour to do that, and to actually swear an oath to the people of Ireland to do that.
And it's not just, the time served or the risk, or indeed giving your life on some various occasions. Long term, people have been in the Defence Forces for a long time. It's a tough old transition from that life into sort of civilian life for many of them, and there's probably not enough support in that regard either, which probably talks to the state's respect for soldiers. And I want to sort of tease that out a little bit more. Obviously, we just have to say soldiers can't advocate for themselves, but in terms of the conditions, you know, when there were recent state visits, how they were treated, what money they were given to feed themselves, the conditions in which they have to operate. If that's an indication to the respect the state has for these people, it would make you wonder how far then we must be away from a celebration day in their honour.
Well, you just have to look at it recently in the pay and conditions. It's thankfully now that they are really they've improved. But when the state visits, was the President of America arrived, I think it was, if my memory serves me right, members of the Defence Forces who were protecting and just on duty for that occasion, they didn't get any extra pay. They were sleeping out in the hammocks and everything else. They didn't get great living accommodations or food when they were sleeping out, and that it shows really what comes from the government, as you said, and the political goodwill. You know, if you mention defense forces to many of the politicians, they try to brush it under the carpet and sweep and move on swiftly.
But you know
even
what?
in an
Can I add
interview.
to that? You know, if there's any old messy problem, flooding, a fire, you know, a storm, the politicians, their go-to is, well, we should bring out the defence forces.
Mm.
Do you know what I mean? They aren't. I mean, they do help an awful lot in that regard. Don't get me wrong, but it's not. You know, that's not what they're there for. They're not
No.
just sitting there waiting to clean up flooding. They do have a role. Don't get me wrong, but that just. It just makes you think that they are the solution to all the problems, that they're just sitting there in the barracks waiting to do the messy work. Also, too, in terms of, do you think such a day might, you know, return an increased respect amongst the general population, or maybe even, you know, national pride? I think we struggle with expressing pride in our flag, in our culture, and our nationality. For many reasons, but we're not as good as other countries, I don't think.
I think we used to be. I think we used to be very proud of our nation and our national flag, but over the years it's become like you know, if you fly your flag, you are labelled with far right, and I think that is
And before that,
narrative.
it was a IRA supporter or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
You know, and that's a very strategic narrative from a political market and managed agenda to actually do that. So people are not. It's when you look at the psychology of media, the psychology and managing and influencing people through the media. That's where it came down. You were labeled far right, but that's right. Even when you think a national day of thank you for your service, that could be extended out to all frontline services as well. But even having children in primary schools, you know, having an appreciation of our defence forces and all our frontline services, having an appreciation at that young age, bring back that national pride, bring that back into our small local communities in our rural areas, our villages, our towns, and our counties across Ireland. You know, we need to get back that sense of pride within ourselves. There's no political will at the moment, you know, for a national pride. You know, in my opinion, everything's brushed under the carpet. I have a son over in Lebanon. My son's a member of the Defence Forces. You know, there isn't a day since Private Rooney was brutally murdered and his colleague really critically and brutally injured. And there's not a day I don't think about Sean Rooney's family.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, there should have been more.
Can I just ask
support.
about your? Do you have I presume you do. We're proud of everything our children do, but do you have a particular pride in your son going out to Lebanon and doing what he's doing?
You know what? There's nothing as pride for a mother. I'm proud of both my children, right? But my son, all he ever wanted to do was join the army.
Mm-hmm.
That was all he ever wanted to do. And you know, I said to him, just go to university for a couple of years and then join the army. But he left and he joined the army.
He was determined.
And that was because it's all he ever wanted. He gets up every morning. And when he puts that uniform on, he's a smile on his face.
Mm-hmm.
He has a sense of honour, a sense of dignity and respect for the country and for the citizens of Ireland.
Right.
And he'd be the first one out there if anyone was in trouble or difficulties to go out and help them, even without the uniform on. He loves his country and he loves the Defence Forces and he loves his role.
And he's putting his money where his mouth is as well. A proper patriot. Okay, Roisin, thank you very much for your time. I do appreciate it. Take care. That's Roisin Ní Cleary there, founder of Confident Women, a broadcaster and producer. And she says that we should have something similar to Memorial Day, a national day to celebrate the Defence Forces, those that are operating right now around the world. Those that have served this country incredibly well, and we've got a great tradition of that here in County Donegal, of course, and those, very sadly, who've lost their lives most recently, the very sad passing of Private Rooney. Do you agree or disagree? 086 60 25,000. That's our WhatsApp and text number, 086 60 25,000. Or feel free to give us a call too on 074 91 25,000. Good on you, Ryan Tuberty. Keep the money. RTE didn't clean up their act, pun intended, and they were very well rewarded for it. You mean the 750 million? Why give them more to squander, says a listener. Ryan Tuberty is actually quite popular in this county as well. Right, as he is probably across the country. It is the 9 till noon show here in Highland Radio. It's Thursday's episode. We've got so much more to come in hour 10 and 11, so stay right where you are. And Michaela Clark's going to join you very shortly with the very latest news, and we'll also bring you the obituary notices.
Need some inspiration for your home renovation? Explore Cherrymore's kitchen and bedroom collections and create a space as unique as you. Book your design appointment today at cherrymore.ie, proud sponsors of today's show.
Looking for a strong, reliable mobile clothesline? Fire Grids Donegal have you covered. We also specialise in gates, railings and all types of fabrication work, custom made to suit your needs, serving all areas with quality you can trust. Call us today on 086 860 2012. That's 086 860 2012. Fire Grids Donegal. We build quality that lasts. Find us on Facebook, Fire Grids Donegal.
Celebrate summer this bank holiday weekend at Centra with their amazing summer sizzler offers. Like Tato Hunky Dory sharing bags $1.50 each, Chicago Town takeaway stuffed crust pizza and Cadbury Crunchy ice cream tub $3.50 each. Plus Fountain Sprite 12 can pack €6 each plus deposit. Centra. Live every day.
8 days of Screwfix bank holiday deals are on now. Save €27 on the DeWalt 18-volt combi drill, now only $129.95. And get 25% off Scruff's Trade Stretch work trousers, now just $49.95. Hurry, deals end bank holiday Monday. Shop now at screwfix.ie or in over 35 stores. Prices valid until 2nd of June. Visit screwfix.ie for T's and C's.
It's the 2025 World Chip Sizzle Freestyle Contest, and Charlie's Chips are in the lead again. They're coming up to the finishing pan, and Charlie's Chips are the 2025 World Champions. Sourced locally, hand-cut and freshly cooked, served with mouth-watering burgers, fresh battered fish, or delicious chicken, plus a great selection of gluten-free options. Open Tuesday to Saturday 12 to 8, and every Friday for breakfast from 9. When the hunger hits, pull into Charlie's on Pierce Road, Letterkenny.
Mr. Blue Sky, please tell us why. The Euro Millions jackpot is an estimated €220 million. Play responsibly, in-store, in-app or at lottery.ie. The National Lottery. It could be you.
Live, on air, online and on the Highland Radio app. This is Highland Radio News.
Good morning, I'm Michaela Clark with the news at 10 o'clock. A man has been hospitalised following an attempted robbery in Letterkenny yesterday evening. Gardaí were alerted to the incident at around 6:30 in the Main Street area. The man in his 20s was taken to Letterkenny University Hospital for treatment to what Gardaí say are non-life-threatening injuries sustained during the incident. Investigations are ongoing. The second teenager who drowned in Lough Swilly earlier this month is to be laid to rest this weekend. 18-year-old Matt Sabanda of St Mary's Road, Buncrana, a native of Zimbabwe, and 16-year-old Emmanuel Famalola, who was originally from Nigeria, are believed to have entered the water to retrieve a football on May the 11th. A major search and rescue operation ensued after they got into difficulty. Emmanuel's funeral mass was held a number of weeks ago, while Matt's requiem mass will take place on Saturday morning in St Mary's Oratory, Buncrana. The UN's World Food Programme says hordes of hungry people broke into one of the agency's warehouses in Gaza, where hospital officials say 2 people have been killed. It comes after 1 person died and 48 others were injured outside a new aid distribution site yesterday. It's a US-Israeli enterprise, but it's been rejected by the United Nations over fears Israel's using it to control the population. Danny Dannins, the Israeli ambassador to the UN.
There are more than 400 trucks already on the Gaza side of the fence, but the UN has failed to pick them up. The UN must stop spreading panic and start moving aid. Put your ego aside and do your job.
There's renewed calls for the planning objection fee to be increased in Donegal. Councillor Michael McLaughlin has called for the cost to rise from €20 to €500. It was argued by Councillors Micheál Colmcille Osberg and Declan Meehan at this week's plenary meeting of Donegal County Council that increasing the fee to such an amount would make the process inaccessible to people. The matter is due to come before the next planning SPC. Councillor McLaughlin says the process has become somewhat farcical.
There's people objecting as far away as Argentina to people doing stuff here in Donegal. There are people from other countries as far away as Cork, elsewhere, objecting to us here in Donegal. This kind of madness has to stop. There's neither rhyme nor rhythm to it, and many of the things.
The jury in Jerry Adams' libel case against the BBC will begin deliberations this morning. The former Sinn Féin leader is suing the broadcaster over claims it made in an episode of its programme Spotlight and an online article that he sanctioned the killing of Dennis Donaldson in Glenties, County Donegal. He denies the allegation, while the BBC claims the journalism was done in good faith. Mr Adams is seeking damages of up to €200,000. Harris Tweed representatives from the Shetland Islands have been visiting Donegal as part of an ongoing programme to train weavers in the county. Councillor Martin Harley says the visit is doubly important because it highlights the campaign to secure designated EU status for Donegal Tweed. He says the protected geographic recognition would bring economic benefits to Donegal and ensure that inferior products manufactured elsewhere cannot be labelled as being Donegal Tweed.
For years, could be products that were being made in Morocco. They were taken back to different parts. They were stuck a label on them made in Ireland because they were boxed in Ireland. If you only have 15% of your workforce works in a certain country, then you can put whatever label you like on it then. So this is important here, and an inferior product will damage the product of Donegal Tweed going forward. And this is something that's been there for 100 years. So we need to protect that, and this needs the PGA status in place now.
€1.4 million has been allocated to Donegal schools for digital learning and minor works. Primary schools in the county are set to receive €871,838, with post-primary schools getting €527,890. The allocation is part of a €65 million investment package announced by Education Minister Helen McEntee. Welcoming the announcement, Minister of State Charlie McConlogue says the benefits of ICT in schools are far-reaching and helps pupils prepare for the digital age by developing digital literacy, preparing for future careers and fostering creativity and innovation. Weather now today will be mild, breezy, humid and mostly cloudy with outbreaks of rain and drizzle. Some drier, brighter intervals will develop this afternoon with highest temperatures of 15 to 17 degrees. That's all from Highland Radio News for now. We'll be back with an update again at 11 o'clock. Until then, you can keep up to date with the latest local news on our website highlandradio.com. Good morning. The obituary notice is for this Thursday morning, May the 29th. The death has occurred of Matt Sabanda, St Mary's Road, Buncrana. Matt's remains will be reposing in St Mary's Oratory, Buncrana, tomorrow evening from 7 o'clock to 10 o'clock. Requiem Mass will take place on Saturday morning at 9:30, followed by interment in St Mary's Cemetery, Cockhill. The death has taken place in London, England, of Neil Connor, formerly of Carrick, Carrigart. His remains will leave the Eternal Light Chapel of Rest at Mountain Top this evening at 5 o'clock, going to the Church of St John the Baptist, Carrigart, to repose overnight. Requiem Mass tomorrow morning at 11 o'clock, followed by interment in the adjoining cemetery. Donations in lieu of flowers to the Kevin Bell Repatriation Fund care of any family member. Mass can be viewed live on Meva Parish Facebook page. The death has taken place of Thomas McAuley, Glencosh, Lifford. Remains reposing at his late residence. Funeral from his home tomorrow afternoon at 1:15 for 2 o'clock service of Thanksgiving in Clonlee Church of Ireland, Lifford, followed by burial in the adjoining graveyard. Family time only on the morning of the funeral. Family flowers only, donations if desired to Clonlee Church of Ireland, Lifford, care of Gillian Graham or any family member. And the death has occurred of Bridget Chamberlain, Lower Illies, Ballymaggan, Buncrana, County Donegal. Bridget's remains are reposing at her late residence. Wake today from 12 noon until 9 o'clock. Funeral from there tomorrow morning, leaving at 10 o'clock, going to St Mary's Church, Cockhill for 11 o'clock Requiem Mass, with burial afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. Family time on the morning of the funeral. Bridget's funeral can be viewed on churchservices.tv. For family information and more details regarding wakes and funerals, please go to highlandradio.com.
Highland Radio.
It's June. Should I take the barbecue out of storage?
Do, yeah.
And the picnic blanket?
Go on.
And put the winter wardrobe away?
Ah, don't be daft, will you? We live in Ireland. This bank holiday at Londis. Get in a shell of quarter-pound of beef burgers, pork sausages and chicken range, any three for €10. Buy Club, Pepsi and 7-Up 8-pack can range, only $4.99 each plus deposit. And get Faustino 7 wine range, just $8.99 each. At Londis. We know what locals want, because we're local, like you. Enjoy alcohol responsibly. Offers end 2nd of June in participating stores while stocks last.
All right, thanks for all your contacts so far this morning. Keep them coming into us. Just to remind you, we love your WhatsApps and we love your texts, and it's the one number. We keep it as simple as we can, 086 60 20 5000. Now, if you want to partake and maybe it suits you to send a voice message, feel free to WhatsApp the voice message. You just hold the little microphone and send it to us. You can also email comments at highlandradio.com. Sean McGovern, one of the alleged most senior members of the Kinahan organised crime gang, has been extradited from the United Arab Emirates at a huge cost to Ireland. Is there any point in this big display? Let's face it, he's just moving from one luxury to another as he'll rule the jail, and the only thing it'll achieve is add to protection costs for members involved in bringing him home. Well, I mean, like the bottom line is there are people there are people and their families who are victims of crimes he may have allegedly had a role in. I think they would very much want to see him back here. I don't think a potential lifetime in prison, and this will be the special criminal court as well, I don't think there's any element of a lifetime in prison where you've completely lost your liberty is a luxury. I can't see in any space where that sort of feels like it could be the case, but I respect your opinion. Thank you for it. Greg, in regards to changes on roads in Letterkenny, from what I can see, it's only getting into the town it's backlogged, because when you get into the town, traffic moves grand. Very good point. That's the point I was trying to make. I do a lot of my bits and pieces stuff around Letterkenny, and once you get into Letterkenny, as I said in the show, often on-street parking's not an issue. You get half an hour free, and the town itself moves quite well. This is why the relief road is so important. My husband was also caught out with a parking ticket. It wasn't his. He had photographic evidence of the car. The letter was sent to us. One digit was wrong. The lady should ring the local council in Dunleary and they can sort it out over the phone. It's obvious that a digit is wrong on the number plate. Yeah, an 8 and a 0, and maybe it's faded a bit. I get where you're coming from. A listener says, you need to look at the full picture when it comes to pressure on health services. The census shall never be answered by those whom are not holiday homes, living full-time in Donegal, but remain with an address in NI. When they ring an ambulance, where does it go? The ED and LUH. There's a large discrepancy in full-time occupier ownership versus the census figures of 167,000. Yeah, the census is always going to be a snapshot on any particular day. The GPs are very busy, and some people don't go to the GP and they go to Letterkenny University Hospital, and there's a myriad of little reasons why people turn up at the hospital or aren't discharged on time because of home care packages and the lack of funding available for that. But there is a bigger picture, and they all feed into it, and some of them are causes and some of them are symptoms. But it's a grand scale situation at the hospital complex in terms of recruitment, retention, investment, spend per patient, all that type of stuff. It's a big picture, which the consultants pointed out in their letter, backed up by the local GP. So I don't disagree with you. Everything you've said is probably correct. Back to the roads. I used to drive to Dublin a lot and often went through the tolls. One day I noticed a car in front of me and realised he had my number plate. Paid no attention until another day I noticed it again. I contacted the Gardaí, but nothing ever came of it. So cars are using false plates on the tolls to avoid costs and every other thing as well. Maybe that's going to be stamped out with the number plate recognition software the Gardaí use, because the plate comes back and it's not to that car. But the odds of driving in Dublin and the car in front of you has your number plate and then to see it again. I'd do the lotto if I was you. That seems remarkable. The 4 lanes is not the 4 lanes. Yes, it is the Derry Road. The Port Road runs past the ATU. Okay, so that's the port. I don't know the geography of Letterkenny. I'm not from Letterkenny. I just read what comes into me. Okay, so the Port Road is not that road. Greg, vaping is far more damaging to your lungs compared to smoking cigarettes. Potentially could be. The truth is we don't actually know because the long-term evidence isn't there. There are some studies that have been published that show one thing or another, but the truth is that it took generations upon generations for us to know the full impact of smoking cigarettes. Greg, a great remedy for restless legs is a glass of tonic water each night. Thanks so much for that. We've had that suggestion. We've had a potato in the bed and lots more appreciated. I don't get this. Shouldn't we just properly follow current laws and punish businesses selling to underage folks? If the loophole is that technically young people can buy them, then close that loophole. This all feels like pearl clutching and an overreaction to me. Also, in general, if the last 2 decades have proven anything, it's that the UK hasn't a notion what it's at anymore. But sometimes we have to protect ourselves from ourselves. And, obviously you're referencing people who are vaping, 14, 15, 16, but there's a whole crop of young adults still developing 18, 19, 20, 21, and they're big people, but there are people and their brains haven't fully formed and they're sucking on these things with 18, 20, 25 milligrams of nicotine in them, and they cannot survive without them. Would you not put something in place to try and alleviate that for the next crop, the next generation coming through, though? I don't think... I'm not a big fan of government overreach and what have you, but I think in this case, sometimes we need to be protected from ourselves. Good luck if you're playing the bingo today. Of course, it is jackpot day. One of you could be minted after these.
It's time for Vision Ireland Bingo on Highland Radio.
It's Thursday, the 29th of May, Jackpot Day. You're playing for the jackpot prize of €6,400 on the pink sheet. The reference number is S9. It's game number 22. The jackpot number is 85. This number can come out in any position from the next 10 numbers drawn. And now, here are your daily numbers. 78, 19, 23, 33, 34, 58, 72, 71, 4, and finally 8. Phone your claim to 910-4833 before midnight, leaving your name, contact number and the name of the shop where you purchased your book, and we'll call you back the next working day. Get all your Vision Ireland bingo information at highlandradio.com.
At Specsavers, we've got hearing devices that can stream music or movies. Ones that are good in crowds, rechargeable battery ones that are good at home, ones that are good in the great outdoors, ones that connect to phones, ones that fit in your ear, ones that fit over your ear, ones that fit in wherever you happen to be. We've even got ones in our advanced range that use AI to make speech sound clearer, and they're all available at great Specsavers prices. So book a free hearing check today, because OK Hearing is not OK. Terms and conditions apply.
The Irish Independent says the all-new Dacia Bigster offers style, comfort and agility. It's the big family car with big space, big tech, a big boot and big hybrid power with a not-so-big price tag. From an incredible €29,990 with low-cost finance options available. Visit your local Dacia dealer to find out more. Price excludes delivery and related charges. T's and C's apply, subject to lending criteria. Offers are limited. See dacia.ie.
Top cap payments revealed. In this week's Irish Farmers Journal, we reveal who's getting the highest farm payment in your county. Court showdown in the battle for Barn Estate. Mart manager sound alarm on TB proposals. Crime gang targeting farm jeeps. Everything you need to know about registering a right of way. Top tax tips for your farm. Plus free 36-page summer food magazine. And don't miss your chance to win a Yamaha quad. Collect 3 tokens to enter. All inside this week's Irish Farmers Journal.
Whether it's muddy boots or outdoor gear, Cherrymore's premium kitchen and storage solutions bring style and function to your boot room or utility. Learn more at cherrymore.ie, proud sponsors of today's show.
Okay, we're joined on the programme now by political correspondent, Virgin Media News, and a co-host of its popular podcast, the group chat, and that's just scratching the surface, really. Gavin Reilly, if you switch on the radio or the TV, you're there.
And here I am now. Hi, Greg. Good morning.
Okay, brilliant stuff. Congratulations on the publication of your book, The Secret Life of Leinster House. So, what questions are you answering in this book?
Well, I suppose a little bit of it, the potted elevator pitch, if you like, of the whole book is that it's some of the stuff that politicians would like you to know and understand about their working lives. Some things which might never make the news and might never, therefore, be the subject of an item on your program or an item on my programs or news bulletins or whatever. But they're things that are actually quite consequential to the way the TD's lives are run, which inherently also means that they are somewhat consequential to our lives too. And also a little bit of what they would rather you not understand. Things like about how, for example, when often they're voting in the Dáil chamber, they will privately admit they don't quite know exactly what it is that they're voting for, and that they need to go and look up at the big electronic voting board to see what way their colleagues are voting before they actually understand what way they're supposed to stand. So it's a little bit of what they would rather they'd like you to know about their working lives, and also a little bit of what they wouldn't.
Yeah, indeed. And it kind of pulls the curtain back a little bit, doesn't it? Because as much as, Irish politics, we're a small enough pool here, right? And we kind of know them all, and you see them out and about or at football matches and stuff. But there's an awful lot goes on, and I think mostly in and around Dublin, that maybe, voters aren't privy to. Does part of this humanise politicians a little bit so that we sort of understand that they are, not politicians, but also people?
Yeah, I think so. And actually, I was only reflecting on this actually in the process of doing a lot of publicity interviews around the book, that actually it does present politicians as being maybe a little bit more three-dimensional than you might see in other circumstances, because often when you see them, in news packages that I might be doing or elsewhere, you're only hearing them talk about whatever's going on in Leinster House or in a constituency, and you don't really understand them as people. But that, in a way, that was one of the reasons why it was worth doing the book, because people perceive politics and they now expect politicians to give them almost the same kind of glossy level of customer service as you'd get from a broadband company or a mobile phone provider or a satellite TV or something. And that ultimately, when you get elected, you might inherit a nice constituency operation, or if you've been re-elected, you might already have your staff there up and running and you can hit the ground running that way. But if you are a brand new TD, the chances are that for the first couple of weeks, maybe in the first couple of months, your office is basically one man and his dog. And Leinster House can be a very intense and a very difficult working environment to get your head around and to climb the learning curve of anyway. But politicians go in there with this kind of idea that they're the cock of the walk. You get voted on a Friday, you get hoisted on somebody's shoulders on a Saturday, you go to Leinster House on the Monday or Tuesday, and you're given an empty office with no staff and basically a computer and a phone line, and you're told, right, best of luck. And oftentimes people don't know exactly where to start or how exactly to do the things that they got elected ostensibly to do. So the book examines a little bit about just the learning curve and how, as politicians, they just find it very difficult to judge their personal lives and their professional lives, but also trying to learn how to be politicians when they are expected to be the finished item the second they walk in the door.
I wonder, is that part of the reason that, the public might have the perception that, often someone is elected and you're expecting them to go down there and tear up the rule book and, scream from the rafters and do things differently. But very quickly, there seems to be a mould that everyone fits into. That sounds like really anti-politician, but I don't mean it like that. I've just seen it too many times that all of a sudden, really, it all becomes just white noise. They all become the same. Is that part of that it is kind of like a bubble, and you find yourself being sort of tamed into what everybody else is?
In a way, you kind of become domesticated by the protocols and the procedures that you have to follow. So there is a part of it like that as well. And also part of it is because national government is so complex, and actually trying to make inroads and changing things at national government is so difficult that many people, arrive thinking they know how it's done, and they actually turns out that they don't know how it's done at all. Particularly in cases where someone might have been a member of a local authority, and this has been a really common thread as I was talking to people, interviewing with them for the book. If people were members of Donegal City Council, or if they were members of Galway City Council, Donegal County Council, or Donegal City Council, or different county councils around the country, they become very used to being able to call up a county engineer and say, can you look at the support for this bridge on this road? Or can you install a zebra crossing there to make sure the kids can get out safely? Or can you fix up this playground? Or can you paint up that library? And they're all small things, but they're all things that you can get done if you just call the right person. And so they come to Leinster House thinking that they can just do the same thing at a national level. You know, if a school is facing decreased teacher numbers because of falling enrolment, if you call up the right secretary general or a principal or something or other, that you'll be able to get it fixed. And then they kind of suddenly then have this massive come to earth moment when they realise that actually all of those civil servants will only ever answer the phone to their own minister, but they can't answer the phone and take orders from 174 TDs and from 60 senators as well. They have to try and decide that there's only one person they speak to. So people think that they know what they're going to do, and then they land down and realise that only ministers have that sway. And so partly then they get ground down where they sort of fall into the protocols of the system where they go, well, if I can't do all the things that I hoped I could do, then I might as well busy myself by doing oral questions in the chamber or whatever else. And then you sort of fall into the same mould that a lot of other TDs have laid before them.
On issues such as, say for instance, on health, for an example up here, the one thing that's been very clear lately is that it's very hard to find out who's responsible. And really, actually, when you question the health minister, you do realise that the decision is made long before it ever reaches her, for an example, or on issues on housing and all this type of stuff. So with all that in mind, and having been in the game for as long as you have, what's your perception of who runs the country versus elected government and permanent government, if the truth be told? Because, Mary Harney went in there promising to hold the government to account and change everything. We've seen that's in terms of party politics. Sinn Féin are promising the same, but we kind of all really know that when you get in there, it's very, very different. How it all operates is very different, and what change you can affect really is probably minimal, is it?
Yeah, it's. I don't think it's minimal, but I think that over time the machinery of the state has become so big, and I think this is a legacy of some of the Celtic Tiger years and some of the different Quangos and other kind of executive branches that Fianna Fáil set up during their long stint in government. Ostensibly, it was to try and sort of take politics out of the hands of politicians and have things governed by experts or people who were best practice in their areas. And if that was how it worked out in principle, then great. But it does mean that everything is done at arm's length from the politicians themselves, and therefore it can be much harder for a politician to be able to really hold enough people's feet to the fire for long enough that it can be done. Now, I did speak to some civil servants when I was talking to the book, and I was talking about this perception that sometimes civil servants can be this Sir Humphrey type from Yes Minister, who are almost just obstacles to progress and who are just preserving the status quo just almost out of obstinate sake. And they say that it's not like that, but rather they are more aware of the downstream unintended consequences than politicians might be. So they might present a more rounded view and then just leave it up to the politician to decide whether it's worth pursuing or not. Now, that said, they're all very mindful that, look, the politicians are the one with the mandate. Nobody elected a Secretary-General to run things and to run the rule over things. So if a minister says they want something to be done, they will always endeavour to make sure that it is done, and they'll follow their directions. I think in the present day, though, there are so many different layers of machinery with, you mentioned health, for example. There's the minister, but then there's the CEO of the HSE, and then there's all those other kind of VP or sort of deputy CEO levels. And then you have hospital groups, which are kind of governed somewhat autonomously, but under the structure of the HSE. And the hospital group might have a chair or CEO. And then you go down to individual level where you might have consultants and clinicians and registrars. And there's so many different layers of bureaucracy in there that although the minister will hold sway, the minister will have to make sure that the feet are held to the fire of everyone else the whole way down. And we expect so much of politicians that there aren't enough hours in the day for them to be able to hold enough people's feet to the fire for a long time, and to be able to make sure that they're able to drag over things over the line. So I think part of it is not because civil servants are obstinate or that they are just trying to be an obstacle to progress. It's because there's now just so many operatives that it's hard to be able to get people and pin them down for long enough.
Yeah, indeed. Every chapter, 19 of them, would be interesting to read, going by the titles. Down the corridor, try it sometime, never at home, getting noticed, etc. I just haven't had an opportunity to start this book yet. Is there an appetite to care about politicians, Gavin? Maybe you don't even have to care about politicians to enjoy a book like this. You just get to understand how it all works, right? You from the beginning right through. But sometimes I wonder, will you get paid so much? Who cares how tough your life is? Or maybe that's just a noisy minority, and a lot of people, vote Fianna Fáil, vote Fine Gael, and would really, and other parties, it's not specific government parties, of course, and might actually have an interest into an insight into the life of a politician outside of what we know.
Yeah, I don't mean that there's an obvious attraction, I hope, for people who are just interested in how politicians go about their affairs. And if anyone is casually interested in politics, I hope that it's a read that is able to bring them in and that it's not too het up with jargon. One of the great things that my Publishers Guild books did, by the way, was make me include a glossary at the back so I could take out the jargon, take out the jargon as I was writing the book, and then just have a couple of pages at the back where people could gloss over all the definitions of things. But I don't think you necessarily need to care about politicians. It certainly helps if you're interested in politicians. But I think if you just care about how the country is run and how the world works a little bit, then I hope this will have an attraction for you too. Because, you know, the one thing that I find really interesting and very compelling about the day job that I do is how varied it can be. Because if you care about environmentalism, and you want to set more ambitious climate targets, that goes through Leinster House. That comes on the desk of politicians. If you care about education and enrolment policy and disability needs assessments and school patronage, that's Leinster House. If you care about agriculture versus climate, that's through Leinster House. Religious policies in schools, reproductive rights, gay marriage 10 years ago. Leinster House is the funnel for everything. And ultimately, then politicians are the funnel for everything. So in a way, to understand how the country is run and how some of the things have ended up the way that they are, you have to understand the mechanics of the lives of the people who are making those decisions. And I hope that this is a somewhat insightful, or at least a revealing insight into what it is really like.
Yeah, well, I'm looking
traipsing up and down the road.
Exactly, I'm looking forward to it, and it's been very highly regarded by those that have read it. And I think the glossary is actually useful for younger people. I've talked to younger people who have an interest in politics that would maybe struggle to know the difference between a chief whip and a Taoiseach, for an example, but also for an international audience as well. So it's useful in that regard, if nothing else. Gavin, continued success. Thank you so much for your time. I do appreciate it. I know you're busy as always, so we appreciate it. The best of luck. The book available in all the usual places, I'd imagine, and I think a great gift for yourself or anyone who has any interest in politics and the working of politics. This covers it all.
Great. Thanks so much for having me, Greg. Really great to talk to you.
All right. Bye-bye. Gavin Reilly there. 086 60 25,000 WhatsApps and texts to that number. Did I do the requests? There was a couple of requests I wanted to mention. I normally do them just after 10. My mum, Annie Hunter in Mallinhead, she's 90 today, from all her family in Plumbridge. We had another one for you earlier, Annie. Lots coming in, actually. Hello, could you please play a very special birthday request for our very own Karen Donna and Clonmany in Inishowen Zumba Queen, Kat? We hope you have a great day celebrating in your style. I think I might be connected to Kat on social media and always seems so vibrant and enthusiastic and full of fun. If it is the same Kat, I'm sure it is. Happy birthday to you. It's confidential shredding time once again on Friday at the Letterkenny Shopping Centre. It's in association with United Shredding Company and the Letterkenny Rotary Club, and all for just a donation to the Donegal Down Syndrome Association. As usual, the USL unit will be situated on the right-hand side of the car park near the entrance to the shopping centre in Letterkenny from 10:30am until midday. Members of the Rotary Club will be on standby to assist members of the public if needed. Letterkenny Rotary Club greatly appreciate your continued support for this very worthwhile project. How much would you say was raised since September? €3,530. Wow, brilliant. Well done.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook and at highlandradio.com.
Need some help in the bedroom? Cherrymore create hinged, sliding and walk-in wardrobes, perfect for maximising space and adding elegance. Visit their showroom or find out more at cherrymore.ie, proud sponsors of today's show.
Get more for less this bank holiday with Lidl Plus. Grill up fish, Board B approved meats or poultry, 3 for €9. And cool down with Guinness 15 packs, 15% off, now an incredible $24.85 plus deposit. Scan your Lidl Plus app and enjoy more for less when you go full Lidl this summer. Get the facts, be drinkaware, visit drinkaware.ie.
For Pat, 10 years had been too long a wait to see his team reach the final. So if ever a match called for bunting, it was now.
We've got to show our support. Full team colours on every pole will do the trick. Just hold the ladder.
Always ask yourself the question, are you sure it's safe? Never attach anything to electricity poles and always look out for electricity wires above and below you. If in doubt, call us on 1800 372 999. ESB Networks. Stay safe and stay clear of electricity wires.
You can hope, touch wood, wave to that magpie, but sometimes, no matter how many umbrellas you refuse to open indoors, things happen. And if they happen, you should know what we do. We are the Injuries Resolution Board, the independent and impartial state body that resolves personal injury claims in Ireland. We use the same guidelines as the courts to calculate compensation, and on average, we resolve cases 2 years faster, saving time and money. Find out more about us at injuries.ie. And fingers crossed, you'll never need us.
30 years of magic, 30 years of passion, 30 years of unforgettable performances. Riverdance 30, the new generation, is coming to the Gaiety Theatre in Dublin for a limited anniversary tour. Join us on Thursday the 28th of August to experience the rhythm and pure magic of Riverdance, live in the city where it all began. Luxury coach transfers, overnight accommodation on a bed and breakfast basis at the 4-star Grand Canal Hotel in the heart of Dublin. Fantastic seats to the show and free time to explore all that Dublin has to offer. Spaces are limited. Don't miss out on your chance to witness this iconic and unforgettable show. Contact us today on 9125,000 or check out The Outlet on highlandradio.com to book your place now. All right, Marie's on the phone with me now. Hi, Marie.
Hi, Greg.
Thanks for your time. I'm good. And you're relating an incident that happened to your brother-in-law. Was this in the early hours of this morning?
Yeah, at approximately 3:30 a.m.
Okay, so what happened?
Well, my brother-in-law was on the way to take a family member to an early appointment, hence why he was on the road early. On a back road between Mulford and Tierman, and he wasn't far from his home, a couple of miles. As I said, it was dark, I suppose, at 3:30, starting to turn to bright, I suppose, at 4 a.m. But anyway, they would have maybe saw his lights, and two male stood out in front of the car on a corner in this back road, and another one approached from the side to the driver's window. Luckily, he had his doors locked, but the person at the driver's window shouted in to get out of the car. And he said he kind of froze, obviously, so he shook his head. And the other two continued to go up on top of the bonnet, and one of them produced a knife.
So there was three of them at this point. Sorry, Marie, there was three of them at this point, was there?
Three of them altogether. Two stood out in front of the car, and he just barely got the car stopped, he said, because they came out so quick. They obviously saw the lights or were waiting there or whatever, or maybe in another area, because in the area that it would be in, there would be a derelict or older house there and a few sheds. You know, it's out in the country. It's very kind of derelict.
And they just told him to get out of the car. Did they make any threats, or did they give? Did they sort of say anything that?
No.
That
they were wearing all dark clothing, and they could only see their eyes, and they were of black or foreign nature, foreign nationals. The man at the front on top of the bonnet, as I said, put his hand in his pocket and produced what looked obviously to be a knife, because they had the lights on. And the other man was standing there as well, but all he could see was their eyes. But he did say that one was taller and the other two were of medium to smaller built.
Right, so and at this point, thankfully he had the doors locked. What did he do next?
Older car, so he had a bit of a problem jamming on the lock, but he got it locked, thankfully. But he forgot about the windows down a bit because he had been smoking. And that's how he heard the man saying, you know, shouting at the window, get out of the car. And he shook his head then over and back as much to say no, because he said he had froze. And he said, like, I'm a big grown man. And he said that he was really shook, you know. The other two, the other two were standing in front of the vehicle, and as I said, he had a knife. But then automatic reaction, I suppose, he didn't know what to do. So he took out his phone to try and video them. And the male with the knife at the front said, drop your phone. If you record this or you report this, we'll come back to kill you. So then he tried to reverse the car. And in the area it was on a bad corner, and it was a small country road, as you can, you know, there's not much room to pull in. So he got eventually back to a part of a farmyard entrance, and he turned the car and continued back in the Mulford direction. The road that I would be talking about would be familiar to a lot of people because they would travel that road.
Lochkeel's in that area, isn't it?
Huh?
Lochkeel?
Lochkeel's in the area, yeah. There'd be a crossroads before it, but this part would be near the Mulford side. So if you're at Letterkenny or Milford Convent and you were heading out that back road, it's called Carnegana and Screen area, and you can head on over to Termon via the Lost Salt Road. You know.
Yeah. I know the road you're talking of. Did he? Did your brother-in-law report this to Gardaí?
He has reported it via phone call, but he has to go obviously to make a statement now. But it was very because the fact they said that if you report this or you video this, we'll come back to kill you. Are they familiar with that area? Have they been watching for a while, or we are aware that
it's very rural though. It's very rural for three people to be out at 3:30 in the morning.
Randomly standing at 3:30 in the morning,
Very peculiar.
And there's a lot of elderly people who live on their own. Hence why I do think it's important, maybe, and I could be taking up time on your show, but that there's people in their 80s there that travel that road day and night. So 3:30, 4 a.m. it's starting to get bright, so they're not afraid. My own family, my own father would be 78. Would they panic? Would they let them into the car? What would they do next? It's frightening that it's come to this.
Is there? Did I hear correctly that there have been rumours prior to this incident of people squatting in derelict properties in the area, or has that come to light since this incident?
We're not fully aware, but they obviously are familiar to the area when it's so quiet and there wasn't many houses near them, so they must have thought that maybe they would get away with it. But there is houses in the area that would have members of foreign nationals and stuff living in them. Now, is it in connection of them or not? But
well, there's people living everywhere.
That never would have happened before.
This is these three people out in a country road at 3:30 in the morning. How many cars? That might not have been another car up that road until 5:30 or 6. It's not. It's not a traffic heavy road overnight. Okay, well, we'll see what the Gardaí have to say about it. He's reported it by phone, you say, and he has to go and make a statement now.
Somebody had also mentioned previous that there was an incident over by the Lost Salt Road of something similar, of an altercation with men out at a vehicle or trying to stop people. So whether it was the car they're looking for, or is it what would they do to the person involved? It's just what's going to be next. That's what the scary part.
Let's ask if anyone else has any information in relation to that. Obviously, if you have any information, get it to An Garda Síochána, not you, Marie. I'm speaking to the wider public now. And if you have any information on that other incident you mentioned, not far away on the Loch Salt Road. Okay, I'm sure your brother-in-law is well shook about that. Is the car damaged? You talked about them being in front of the car. Were they up on the bonnet or just standing in front of the vehicle?
They were up on top of the car. Yeah, on top of the bonnet. And what do you call it? They didn't damage it as such. They probably, sat on the top of the bonnet and stuff. But it was an older car, and it's the fact that he said that he wouldn't normally lock his car. It wouldn't be something that he would think on that road. But he actually, when he visually saw them, he had his jam on, hold the button to keep the car locked, and they kept pulling at the door handle to try and get in.
Worrying, scary times. Okay, listen, thanks for that, Marie. I appreciate it. We'll see if An Garda Síochána have any. They'll have to. It's not going to be immediate because they're going to have to actually get a statement and see if they, for operational purposes, it's worth going public or not. But we'll chase that up, of course. Staying on the roads. Morning, Greg. I was driving behind a guy yesterday from Drumkeen to Ballybofey. He was in a silver BMW. He was swerving a couple of metres every so often with quick manoeuvres. I was about to ring the guards when I copped on. He was avoiding manhole covers. Such erratic behaviour. I'm not sure if he was under the influence or what, but people of that area need to keep an eye out. He will cause an incident. Hi, Greg. The wages start at $7.80 an hour after tax for our soldiers, recruits, and the vast majority of them end up sitting on their backsides in local barracks like Barnhill. Is that the life of a soldier? I'm sure there's more to it than that, is there? The Port Road had 4 decent lanes before... Well, we can't call it the Port Road because we get into trouble. The Port Road had 4 decent lanes before they effected it up with a lump of concrete down the middle and 2 footpaths where one would have done with pedestrian crossings on it. Unused cycle lanes, maybe. They have fire service and ambulances ordered with wings on them when someone in 3rd class at National School designed that road. Back to the Defence Forces. I agree with Roisin about the Defence Forces. I had a great career overseas with the Army. We have a number of organisations run by ex-Defence Forces members like ONET and the MPAI and UN veterans. Only for these organisations formed by ex-members, we would have nothing. They support those in need. Ex-members were helped to get set up, to get their own houses. A lot of ex-Defence Forces slept on the street before that. Only for these organisations, the Defence Forces would never even be acknowledged. A Memorial Day would be nice for us to be recognised. We do a lot of good work and aren't given the recognition that we deserve. And I'm glad you referenced those sort of transitioning from the Defence Forces into civilian life. I do know a lot of them end up in, not a lot of them, but many can end up in, sheltered accommodation or on the streets or what have you. And it can be quite hard then to sort of readapt. And is there any supports other than from organisations like that? We do have a responsibility. Hiya, Jerry.
Hello, good morning, Greg.
This is an interesting angle. The lady who received a parking ticket for parking in Dunleary, even though she was never there. What's your take?
Well, I was just wondering if it was a case that she had that car or somebody in the family had that car up for sale in recent times.
Right.
And would have posted up details, that it had tax and insurance, etc., and had the number plate on it. Because in my case, I advertised the car in Dundee, and in a nutshell, a guy rang me, wanted to buy it. I had the photograph posted, but not my number plate.
Mm-hmm.
So he said, "Look, I need that car, and I'll buy it for the money you're asking, but I need your number plate because." I need to get it insured to drive it, in his case, down to Cork from Donegal. So I gave it to him. So it turns out, anyway, that I smelled a rat afterwards, so I didn't either. He was supposed to ring me back, but obviously he didn't. I started getting tickets from the toll bridge on the M50.
Right.
And I got in touch with them, and for some reason they believed me that I hadn't been in Dublin, and they said they would stop sending them and investigate it. So it turns out that whoever it was cloned my number plate to a similar car that they had.
Wow, that is clever. So he matched maybe the make and colour.
I give too much details because I said it was taxed and insured and MOT'd for 6 months forward.
Mm.
So if that was picked up anywhere, the guards would, with the automatic way they have of doing it now, they would obviously say that car's taxed and insured.
No red flags?
No red flag. But it took nearly 9 months. I couldn't get rid of the car with the guards coming to the house, and but it turned out that an overhead camera shot photographs showed that the car they were driving had a sunroof.
Oh.
So the guards arrived here and seen that my car, they believed me all along, but they had to prove it. There was no sunroof on my motor.
That's fascinating.
So
he probably, this person then, right, okay, I didn't even, this is remarkable. So this person, it's almost like a perfect crime. This person obviously had a vehicle and she went on websites that sell cars, identified a similar vehicle, similar colour, got the number plate off you, found out that it was taxed, insured and NCT'd, and said, this is perfect. I can stick his number plates on my car, drive as I will, and there'll be no red flags with number plate recognition software. And the case was only fully cracked when it turned out that the car they had a roof, sunroof, and yours didn't.
Yeah.
This must be happening all the time, Jerry.
Well, it looks like it, but in the case of that lady, I'm wondering if it would be interesting to know if she had the car up for, or whoever it was had the car up for sale, and that the details were got that way, because you can't pick a number plate willy-nilly out of, a number plate in Donegal. You could steal a number plate in Dublin, I suppose, because you could walk down the street and take somebody's number plate. But
But
for
funny
somebody
thing,
to do
Jerry,
something.
you know, that you say that. We've had appeals from the Gardaí here on a Tuesday a couple of times. There was actually quite a spate of number plates being stolen off cars, and you just wonder if someone was going to Dublin or wanted to commit a crime and they have a vehicle. Do they go on the hunt either online in your case or in person to get number plates to cover them? I mean, it's probably what's happening, and it seems so easy, and it's very hard actually to get around it unless you were involved in a collision or something, you know.
Well,
and then
yeah, if you walk down the street, I would say, and you can look at people's windscreens and see they are taxed and insured, etc. And now suddenly, you know, these people can just come back in the night and steal the number plate.
Fascinating.
If they have a similar car.
But what a hassle for you in terms of not being to sell the car on. You obviously had the intention to sell it, and then the inconvenience of having to deal with the guards all the time.
Yeah, I just wanted to get rid of it. I sent it away for scrap in the end. I phoned the scrap man to come and to get away. You know, it wasn't a money thing. It was just, it had to lie here for nearly 9 months till the whole thing got cleared up. But the fines were going up and up and up. You know, they were doubling and everything. They were, if you didn't get it proved, it was a bit of a handling.
And also, even though you know you're innocent, you know you probably won't be liable. It's hanging over you there. It's a black cloud, you know. There's,
yeah.
Okay, Jerry, listen, thanks for that. Great insight. And really, actually, I'm going to change how I behave if selling a vehicle. Because you can see very easily you can see very easily how any of us could be caught out. They just go shopping for a car similar to theirs.
Yeah.
All right, Jerry.
Just
listen.
Don't show the number plate if you're posting. Even though I didn't show my number plate when he phoned me, I fell for it and gave him the registration.
Yeah, but
so we could get insured.
I would do the same. Hindsight's easy, but I mean, I think. Listen, you're selling the car.
Well,
how could you think of those consequences if you've never experienced it? All right, Jerry. Hopefully, your current motor's going well for you, and it's only you driving it on the plates.
Yeah.
Okay. Jerry, take care of yourself.
Okay, thanks
for that.
Greg,
really interesting stuff. Thanks, Jerry. Really appreciate that too. Have you been affected by that? I'm certainly going to be far more careful going forward because it makes perfect sense.
At Cherrymore Kitchens and Bedrooms, Donegal Town, they have fantastic packages on full home renovations. Whether you're looking to update your kitchen, bedroom or living room, visit cherrymore.ie, proud sponsors of today's show.
St Michael's GA are hosting their annual golf fundraiser on Bank Holiday Monday, June the 2nd at Dunfanny Golf Club. Sponsored kindly by McGurk's Golf, Letterkenny, Rosie's Bar, White Atlantic Camp Chrysler and HML Plant Sales. Top prizes include golf bags, 4-ball vouchers at Carlton House and more, as well as great raffle prizes on the day. Call Dunfanny Golf Club today to book your spot.
Celebrate your love at Encourage Hotel, nestled in the heart of Donegal. With breathtaking views of Errigal Mountain and elegant surroundings, our venue offers the perfect setting for your special day. Experience exceptional service and create unforgettable memories. Discover more at encouragehotel.com.
Says Mr. Brennan. Normally I'd wax lyrical about this kind of thing, but today, well, just listen. That's the sound of freshness, you see, because it's our lovely wrinkly wax paper that keeps the freshness in. I wish my wrinkles were a sign of freshness, says I. Brennan's. Today spread, today.
Travelling to Dublin for business? Donegal Airport's same-day return makes it easy. Fly out at 7:55 a.m. and return at 6:50 p.m. Great fares and low-cost parking. Save time and book now at aerlingus.com. Terms and conditions apply.
Go electric during our 252 event and discover our full range of rewired iconic Ford cars, including the all-electric Explorer, the all-new Capri, and the Puma has gone fully electric, starting from €29,900. Ford have gone electric. Ireland is going electric. So what's stopping you? Go electric. Book your test drive at Ford.ie. Offer ends 15th of June. Price includes grant and BRT relief and excludes delivery and related charges. T's and C's apply.
Highland Radio weather updates with McElhenny's. Get set for summer with all new arrivals dropping every week, from fashion to footwear and homeware to cosmetics. Discover more in-store or shop online at mcelhennys.com today.
All right, the weather forecast, it's not very pleasant for today, it has to be said, but I'll read it to you nonetheless. Today will be mild, breezy, humid and mostly cloudy with outbreaks of rain and drizzle, especially through the morning. Some drier, brighter intervals will develop in the afternoon. Temperatures of 15 to 17 degrees. In studio with me, Dylan McClintock. Good morning, Dylan.
Good morning.
And we also have Anton Rogers, both Errigal College transition year students. Thanks for calling in, Anton.
No bother, Greg.
Right, lads. You are winners of the Eco UNESCO Young Environmentalists Awards. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
All right, okay. Dylan, what did... that's a beautiful award, actually. What is the story? What did you win? What was your project?
Well, at the start of the TY, we noticed that our school had a lot of plastic waste from the school, so we started a project called Bottle Back, bringing your plastic bottles back, because we have like a recycling bin in the school that you can put your DRS bottles into.
Mhm.
6th-year student brought that in, and we wanted to make a change, so we started Bottle Back, and we entered the Eco UNESCO competition. I'm not sure when we entered, but we had to go through the semi-finals, which was like a Zoom call. It's called the Eco Den, and we got through that, and then we got to go down to Dublin then into the final. And we won marine litter, which was our category, and then the overall senior winner. So the whole thing.
Which is fantastic. So how did the project work, Anton? So were you asking people, how did you engage with people? How did you motivate people to do their bit?
Just in the school, we went around asking questions like, how much do you know about the planet? How much do you know about marine litter and all that? We sent out surveys. We got our percentages back, and very little people knew.
So, well, talk to me a bit more about that. So they didn't know what that there was so much crap in the sea, that type of stuff.
They didn't even know. I think it was 30% knew what marine waste meant.
Wow. Okay, that's a real low starting point, isn't it? So of that 30, then you dig a bit deeper, don't you? Right. So what? It also then, we recognise the problem. There's a bit of education there, Dylan. Then you have to sort of work on solutions.
Yeah, we have some solutions in the school. We go around after each break collecting the bottles and go around the classrooms asking to make sure that people are actually not just leaving their bottles in classrooms and not making use of them. And we're trying to bring in like an Ergo College reusable bottle. So like, I don't know, a lot of people go into the canteen every day buying bottles, just leaving them wherever they want. So it's far better for the environment and themselves. They don't have to spend.
So you have a bottle, you fill it, you take it with you. It's your bottle, you
with
fill
you.
it. Yeah, and lots of people do it. I mean, they're quite trendy bottles and what have you. So some people do that. It's just to make them available. Maybe branded them for the school. Anton, when you sort of asking people and making them aware of the issues, how receptive were they to doing something about it? Like were people going, right, I didn't realise that, maybe I can do this, or wow, this is, changed my mind on stuff. Was that the educational part of it? Was there much interest in addressing it once you educated people?
Yeah, well, we're the Green School ambassadors, we had to do something about it, and people were eager enough, they wanted to help out. They didn't want their school to look dirty, wanted to help the school's reputation.
And Anton, do you have an interest in the environment before this, or has it grown through this project?
It's definitely grown through this project. Didn't really think on half the stuff that I do now from this project.
Yeah. What about you, Dylan? Were you always sort of conscious or more conscious of the environment than your peers, or has it sort of grown through this project?
Well, everyone knows that climate change and the waste problem is not great, but you don't actually cop on how bad it is until you start looking into it. It's over 100 million tons of plastic waste each year in the ocean. It's not great. It needs to be cut down. So I'd say my interest definitely grown too.
I mean, it's like just the public dump, isn't it? The water, which is crazy, really, considering so much life is in there. And the video too you created, Take It to the Bins. Talk to me about that. That's just part of the overall project, is it? How did you distribute that, and whose idea was it?
Well, it was our idea. Like,
Yeah.
we came up with it. We came up with the lyrics in class, and then we brought it to our music teacher, and he found a beat, and we just, I don't know, like, mixed it all together, and turned out well. Won.
Yeah, good stuff. Well, it's a good way to reach people, isn't it? Should we have a listen to it? Is it listenable too? Yeah, we'll have a listen to it. See what's Is it just rapping?
It's
All right, let's hear it. Let's hear it, lads.
We're bringing bottles back. We've got the crew that knows just how to act. Protect the sea life, that's the mission act. Let's clean it up and bring those bottles back.
Take it to the bins.
I think that's good. Yeah, actually, I thought
Yeah,
the way
it's
you were cringing, I thought this was going to be like, oh no, that's pretty
we've
cool.
heard it that many times. Like,
As well as that, and I mean, you aren't taking yourself terribly seriously.
there's a
either.
full rest of the song. That's when it started.
Well, I know that, but I was all of a sudden I was considering that sounded very much like Sexy Back, and I don't want to get flagged on Facebook and YouTube for copyright reasons. But what we will do is share it on our social media as well. It's different if it was an interpretation of it. But if it's the actual backing track, I'd get in trouble with Mark Zuckerberg. Right, so not literally him. So this is a lovely award, lads. So you did the Zoom call. Just explain one more time. Then you had to go down, make a presentation, and that's how you walked away with this award. Is that it?
Well, we kind of had a presentation already. We have notice boards around the school.
Great.
Of all information. Like, we have stuff like this up, which is like how much the deposit fees actually are. It's like
just throw that over to me just to get a sense of it there.
And there's
a show on to 25 cents.
All right, yeah, cool. Yeah,
it puts it in
I don't know that.
like,
Yeah, I don't actually understand. Yeah, I don't actually know that stuff. That's good to have. All right, brilliant stuff.
It's like 20 bottles is a $5.
It's all right, isn't it?
People are only thinking, it's 15 cents. There's no point saving.
You have to add them up. All right, brilliant stuff. Listen, well done, lads. Are you finished up? When are you finished up?
We finished last week.
Did you? All right, okay, good stuff.
Monday.
Hey, enjoy. It's 5th and 6th year next, isn't it?
Yeah.
All right, okay. Listen, thanks very much for calling in. Congratulations to you again, and well done as well to Errigal College in supporting all students, but particularly students like Dylan and Anton in achieving this great stuff. Thanks so much, guys. Really do appreciate it.
Thank you.
Bring your dream kitchen to life with Cherrymore. Discover functional, beautiful designs with a wide range of colours and styles to suit any project. Learn more at cherrymore.ie, proud sponsors of today's show.
It's the Right Price Tiles wood flooring and bathware 70% off sale. Get up to 70% off all your purchases. Up to 70% off all tiles, all wood flooring, all bathware. Everything's reduced in store. The 70% off sale at Right Price Tiles, wood flooring and bathware. Stores nationwide. Sale ends Sunday.
Indulge yourself with friends or a loved one at the Spa at Orchids at the Holyrood Hotel in Bundoran. A midweek or weekend spa break is the perfect way to escape from life for a while. Take a leisurely walk along the Atlantic coast. Enjoy a dip in our private pool, a plunge in our Canadian hot tub, and treatments of your choice before dining in one of the Holyrood Hotel's acclaimed restaurants. The Spa at Orchids. Book now at holyroodhotel.com.
Make great photos into beautiful gifts at McGee's Chemist Letterkenny. Different gift ideas include canvas prints, freestanding or ready-to-hang art blocks, and personalised photo books, perfect to mark any occasion. There's also jigsaws, calendars, mugs, and much more. For details, visit mcgees.ie. Turn your favourite moments into something truly special with McGee's Chemist Letterkenny.
Easy Living Furniture's sizzling summer sale ends this Sunday. Don't miss out as absolutely everything's reduced across sofa, dining, bedroom, mattress and accessories. Summer sale ends Sunday at Easy Living Furniture, Crescent Link Retail Point, Derry, or online at easylivingfurniture.co.uk.
Mirror, mirror on the wall, Easy Living has it all.
Easy Living Furniture. Luxury furnishings, affordable luxury.
Fly EasyJet from City of Derry Airport to Edinburgh, Liverpool, or now from the 1st of September, Birmingham. Book now at easyjet.com. Get out there.
all the stories that matter across the Northwest. It's Greg Hughes on the 9 to Noon Show on Highland Radio.
And it is 11 o'clock. Let's get a news update, and it's over to Michaela Clark.
Thanks, Greg. Good morning. A man has been left shaken after an alleged car hijacking near Milford in the early hours of this morning. It's understood that the man was driving on a back road between Milford and Termon at around 3:30 when 3 men dressed in dark clothing jumped out in front of his car. 2 of them jumped on the car's bonnet while the other man produced a knife and demanded that he get out of the car. Gardaí have confirmed that inquiries are ongoing. A man has been hospitalised following an attempted robbery in Letterkenny yesterday evening. Gardaí were alerted to the incident at around 6:30 in the Main Street area. The man in his 20s was taken to Letterkenny University Hospital for treatment to what Gardaí say are non-life-threatening injuries sustained during the robbery. The second teenager who drowned in Lough Swilly earlier this month is to be laid to rest this weekend. 18-year-old Matt Sabanda of St Mary's Road, Buncrana, a native of Zimbabwe, and 16-year-old Emmanuel Famalola, who was originally from Nigeria, are believed to have entered the water to retrieve a football on May the 11th. Matt's Requiem Mass will take place on Saturday morning in St Mary's Oratory, Buncrana. The jury in Gerry Adams' libel case against the BBC will begin deliberations this morning. The former Sinn Féin leader is suing the broadcaster over claims it made in an episode of its programme Spotlight and an online article that he sanctioned the killing of Dennis Donaldson in Glenties, County Donegal. He denies the allegation, while the BBC claims the journalism was done in good faith. A Donegal senator is calling for filling stations to be utilised in efforts to expand EV charging infrastructure, particularly in rural areas. Senator Manus Boyle believes the lack of adequate charging ports right across the country could possibly force motorists to revert back to diesel and petrol-powered vehicles. He's urging the government to support and incentivise filling stations to install EV chargers. There's renewed calls for the planning objection fee to be increased in Donegal. Councillor Michael McLaughlin has called for the cost to rise from €20 to €500. It was argued by Councillors Micheál Call McGill Asbig and Declan Meehan at this week's plenary meeting of Donegal County Council that increasing the fee to such an amount would make the process inaccessible for some. And €1.4 million has been allocated to Donegal schools for digital learning and minor works. The allocation is part of a €65 million investment package announced today by Education Minister Helen McEntee. Those are the latest headlines. We'll be back with an update again at 12.
Are you green-fingered at all, Michaela? Do you have a garden?
No, I do have a garden, but
Is it all plastic grass or what?
No.
Do you have plants?
I just don't look after it.
Okay, well...
Yeah, but I did...
by proxy, you just have an interest.
Yeah, recently purchased gardening gloves.
Okay, do you have anything in the garden that would need gardening gloves?
Yeah.
Like, do you have plants? Border?
Yeah,
you do?
Yeah.
Okay, and do you plant them? Have you done that this year?
We actually did one with trees and like a wee small plant in between.
Oh, lovely.
But yeah.
Okay.
Lee looks after the garden, I look after inside.
Right, okay. That's good. Well, if you have any questions about your garden, Paul McLaughlin's going to be joining us shortly, okay? Thanks, Michaela. Paul McLaughlin from Ballochdur Garden Centre. And I actually was down at Ballochdur Garden Centre getting a few bits for the house, and I must say, what a setup. And brilliant service as well. Had a fantastic experience there, because they know what they're at, and they just say, no, you do this, that's better, or this is better, or there's that option or this option. And it was a real pleasurable experience. And I've had similar experiences at other garden centres as well. So Paul McLaughlin's going to be joining me shortly, answering your garden questions. Get them into us right now. 086 60 25,000. That's the WhatsApp or text number. Give us a call on 074 91 25,000. Hey, separately to that, I've mentioned just in passing a bit of restless leg syndrome. I don't think I have a syndrome. It seems to kind of come from my hips, and I know Lee, my son, has it as well. The amount of people that must suffer with it, because there's so many like little cures or tips coming in. Appreciate it. It's not something I'm plagued with. I know some people suffer really badly with it, but it does come on me now and again. And as I say, I kind of feel it's tightness in the hips, but it could be something else. But thanks so much for all taking the time to send solutions in. I do appreciate it.
You never know when barbecue weather will arrive or leave. But with Aldi's 100% Irish Board Bia quality assured barbecue range, you can be ready at a moment's notice. Like lean beef burgers, basted pork loin chops, and marinated chicken fillet kebabs. All for only $2.99 per pack. So go on, get summer started. Good food, good mood from Aldi, while stocks last.
Okay, you're very welcome back to the 9 till noon show. Paul McLaughlin of Ballochdur Garden Centre is with me. Hi, Paul. How are you getting
Greg,
on?
how are you?
Just to remind listeners, by the way, if you have any questions as it relates to looking after your bedding plants, your indoor stuff, maybe you want a bit of life on the balcony of your flat or apartment. Not everyone's lucky enough to have a garden. And then some people have a garden and they don't feel they're very lucky to have it at all because it can take a little bit of work. But anything that's green, flowers or grows, whether it's in your garden, on your windowsill or wherever, get in touch with us. We'll get Paul to answer your questions on 086 60 25,000 or give us a call on 074 91 25,000. We were absolutely spoiled, weren't we, with the great spell of weather. But it's still mild, and there's no harm in a bit of rainfall, Paul, is there? You know,
Absolutely not. No, things while we were spoiled with a bit of good weather, I suppose like everything around here, we can't handle too much of anything. So whenever the dry weather had come along, their plants were starting to show the effects of that almost. That it was almost too dry, so the wee bit of wet weather was welcome whenever it did come.
And is there any symptoms of sort of plant life not enjoying the hot weather as much?
Yes, generally trees have a sort of a defense mechanism that they'll shed a certain percentage of the leaves that they have on them because the leaves they lose water through the leaves. So in order to protect themselves and protect the main structure of the tree, they'll shed some leaves as they go along. So that was almost starting to happen there recently. So it was now. The trees were shedding a wee bit of leaves, just probably they thought it was going to be a prolonged spell. But
yeah, all right, okay. Potato blight. I noticed Materan has issued an advisory in relation to this. It's not everywhere, but we seem to be under the potato blight warning in some of the maps that I've seen. So what is it about the weather that creates these conditions that could harm the crop?
Yeah, I suppose a potato blight's a fungus. And as a fungus, it sort of thrives in that sort of warm, damp conditions. So like today's a bit breezy for it almost. It needs to be calmer for potato blight to thrive and spread.
So that's what maybe insulates us a little bit. Not that we're immune.
No, at the minute it seems to be further down the country. Seems to be very much under blight warnings.
So calm, warm, wet, muggy conditions.
That muggy conditions is perfect for potato blight, just to both thrive and to spread.
And does it attack the actual potatoes in the ground or the greenery above the ground or what?
It starts in the tops of the potato, just like starts in the top of the plant, then works its way down. So generally, if you have a wee touch, you can actually remove the affected leaves off the plant. It may prevent it going on down, but it does travel through the whole system and eventually goes down into the potato itself.
And if you have prior warning, you know what's going on. And lots of people would know this already, right? I think people are pretty established in relation to that. But in case people are doing this at home, if you are in a blight warning, what is the treatment?
General treatment, you do get fungicide sprays. That I know not everybody in foodstuffs wants to use sprays, but it's probably the most effective treatment is to get fungicide sprays that you put on, and there are a number in the market, and they sort of prevent it and can treat it slightly. And if you're organically growing them, there is a traditional old one. It used to be called Bluestone. I'm sure older farmers would have used it.
No, I've heard that myself.
Bluestone is certified organic. It goes under the name of Bordeaux mixture, copper mixture. It doesn't actually affect it doesn't prevent the blight, but what it does, it really builds up the defense system of the potato itself. So the potato itself is much better able to fend off the blight.
And is that an old wives' tale? That's tried and tested.
Yeah, no, it's tried and tested for years, maybe the 50s, 60s. So it was pretty much the only thing was available around here.
I was driving through a town recently, let me put it like that there, and it was being sprayed up and down the street.
Yes.
And those spraying it were well protected. They had all the gear on and all.
Yeah.
I wonder, I shouldn't speculate, but I wonder, are we still using the Roundup and what have you for public control of weeds and what have you? Because these were areas where, you you could be very easily walking with a buggy or a dog or another pet for that matter, and, come into contact with some of this greenery, such as the nature of it overlapping on the footpath. And we might make an inquiry. Actually, I should have asked that beforehand, but I hope we're not still using those really toxic chemicals.
Yes,
here.
Roundup is still quite popular. There was chat a few years ago with banning it, but it's this seemed to be official. This didn't seem to be like someone out on the street. This seemed to be no, funny, you'd see evidence even driving around. You see a lot of times you see evidence of what would be classed as burning, if you know what I mean. Chemical burning of weeds. Yeah, it'll still be fairly widespread.
And it's bloody toxic stuff, isn't it?
It is, alright, and a lot of people would very much it affects the bee population, stuff like that. That is the main cause of reduction.
We might make an inquiry in relation to that, actually. We talked about spuds, but tomatoes, very popular, perhaps even more so, not in terms of scale, but in terms of participation. What stage are tomato plants at the moment now?
Tomato plants now, they should be probably most people get them around the start of May. Or so if you grow them from seed, you'd plant them out into your polytunnel or your greenhouse at the start of May. And some people did in the conservatory there. But generally you'd be starting to seeing the first flowers coming on them now. So you would, and flowers obviously turn into tomatoes as the year goes on. So,
I have great memories of checking the tomato plants with my mum. You know, the wee green tomatoes. Can we pick them yet? No, we have to wait for them. And then in the bottom drawer of the kitchen there was like a polystyrene thing she would grow mushrooms in.
Oh, right.
And then other times she'd get us up like at 5 o'clock in the morning to go picking mushrooms and stuff.
Right.
Great stuff. Mussels from the shore. And
funny,
great times.
The polystyrene mushroom kits were very popular, and I think since I don't know if anybody was watching Clarkson's Farm.
Right.
They did a whole thing on mushrooms.
Okay.
And it seems to have sort of reinvigorated the idea of people doing mushrooms.
Yeah.
So it has now. But it's quite an easy, especially if you're someone, like say the polystyrene thing in the drawer. It doesn't take much space.
Well, it's easy to grow them too because you just treat them like politicians treat us.
Yes. Yes, I know where you're going there, all right.
Keep them in the dark and feed them. Poop. Right, so the tomatoes coming on now. Feed them regularly.
Yes, pretty much every 2 weeks.
Sort of enemies of the tomato plant we should keep an eye out for?
Yes, I suppose the green fly is the main one, and probably vigilance is your key there in terms of keep an eye on your tomato plants. And a small infestation of green fly is easy to deal with. If they're clattered in them, it can be hard to deal with, if you know what I mean. So keep an eye on them and just treat them as they occur.
There's a hosepipe ban in Milford. Buncrana, Carrigot, Downings, Letterkenny, I think Ballabafay, Schnoller also, supplies are light. There's not enough rain at the moment either to address that. So, we can wait till we're sort of told to try and restrict our water usage, or we can sort of be proactive and understand that we have a role to play in this as well. Any tips on saving water or being more economical with it?
Yes, probably going forward the way things are going, water conservation is going to become a bigger issue. But basically there are a few small tips you can do to actually just sort of get yourself into better habits, shall we say. The main key would be this for the benefit of plants as well, would be water morning or evening. If you water sort of in the middle part of the day, the water tends to evaporate and it can actually scorch plants. So water morning and evening. Get into the habit of using a watering can rather than the hose, because hose, by the time you walk to the plant, you've splashed it everywhere. Whereas watering can, if you have to actually carry it over and back, you're generally, because of the work involved, you tend to be more targeted with it.
Water butts. So say, for instance, say you have a shed, right, and you don't have to do it, but say you half the downpipe and stick the barrel in underneath it. Like, does that water not go off?
No, generally it wouldn't, actually.
Because it's fresh water, right?
Because it's fresh water. And
not for drinking, but, for plants, it's not going to get stagnant and stink.
A lot of people would actually say that it's actually more beneficial than tap water, if you know what I mean, because there are less chemicals and stuff.
Of course there is.
But, no, generally most water butts for safety come with a lid. And that anyway. So now once it's in there, it's grand. And there's sort of a certain amount of flow going through it as it empties, it's refilling. So it's all constantly moving.
Yeah, and you see sometimes, knocking about, a lot of farmers have them, but these sort of square or cube water tanks in cages. What's going on there?
Yes.
Are they useful? What would you use them for?
Generally, a lot of people, if you have plenty of water, if you have a large shed roof, it's actually them tanks you're sort of recycling as you go. They're easily available. Generally, look, Dundee or something like that there, you always pick them up, but they would hold 1,000 litres, which means you're holding a good bit of water. And they've actually got taps and all on the bottom, so if you set it up on a couple of pallets,
it's more accessible.
Exactly,
The barrel's grand, but you're always taking scoops from the top of it, aren't you? Unless you elevate it.
Most barrels be about 100 litres for these things.
And I mean, I think, and people can argue left, right and into the centre, so the reason why we were just building too many houses or connecting too many houses, we are going to see more strain on the water supply, especially considering that over 40% of our water that is treated in Donegal is lost through leaks.
Yes.
Which is quite frustrating. I was talking to Michaela a little bit about bedding plants. They're all up and running. I was with you. Did I get bedding plants from you? Is that what they are?
Yes, you did.
Okay, they're coming on.
Yeah, very good. Very good.
Did a bit of deadheading as well.
Right, very good. Excellent. That keeps them producing better and like generally better for the health.
I did it off the back of what you said, so it doesn't feel right, but then it makes sense. They're starting to deadhead. Coming on, they take really well once they're transferred into the pots. People grow them in different ways, but people can get them in there now and enjoy them now. And that beautiful colour and the aroma as well, actually.
Exactly.
It's lovely.
There's some great scents of some of them, actually.
Okay. So keep an eye on them. Deadhead where necessary, water where necessary.
Just keep an eye on the water too, because like people look out today, but maybe the position of them, maybe
Yes.
they're not getting the benefit of the rain. So just keep an eye. And one, like if you do nothing else with them, if you just keep them watered.
All right, okay. We're going to get to some of your questions and a couple more topics to talk about after we take this quick break. Stay right where you are.
The county's #1 talk show, The 9 till Noon Show on Highland Radio.
With 29 years of experience, Cherrymore is trusted across Ireland for exceptional quality and service. Let their expert team guide you from concept to completion. Cherrymore.ie, proud sponsors of today's show.
At iMotors, it's not just about cars, it's about great experiences. Just ask Michelle.
I recently purchased a car with Gavin at iMotors. Very professional, happy to help, and the trade-in was seamless.
If it worked for Michelle, it can work for you too. Browse trusted used cars now at imotors.ie or visit their showroom today in Letterkenny or Malin.
iMotors, fearless generation.
Thank you for attending this meditation session for badgers who forgot to check for gas pipes before digging, without knowing how disruptive it could be, putting others at risk and doing it unknowingly for all their working life. And it could have been avoided had they just checked in the first place. Let's begin.
Always check for gas pipelines before you break ground. Visit gasnetworks.ie/dig for more information.
Your specialty is quality tiles, bathroom suites and wooden floors. Who has the best range of tiles in Donegal?
Crawford Tiles.
The best wood flooring?
Crawford Tiles.
The best bathroom suites?
Crawford Tiles.
5-day bathroom refits?
Crawford Tiles.
And who's been tampering with my questions?
That'll be me.
Crawford Tiles, Castlefin. That'll be them. 07491 43942.
The Irish Independent says the all-new Dacia Bigster offers style, comfort and agility. It's the big family car with big space, big tech, a big boot and big hybrid power with a not-so-big price tag. From an incredible €29,990 with low-cost finance options available. Visit your local Dacia dealer to find out more. Price excludes delivery and related charges. T's and C's apply, subject to lending criteria. Offers are limited. See dacia.ie.
At Hidden Hearing, we believe you should keep hearing it all. Keep dancing. Keep celebrating. Keep laughing. Keep being you. Call 1-800-370-000 or go to hiddenhearing.ie and book a free hearing test today. Hidden Hearing. Your hearing is our expertise.
Highland Radio Time Checks brought to you by EirGrid, the operator and developer of Ireland's electricity grid. EirGrid, powering up communities, powering up Ireland. The time is?
Time's 18 minutes past 11. In the company of Paul McLaughlin from Ballochdur Garden Centre. A quick word, Bloom. It happens once a year. Hundreds of thousands of people go to it. It feels snooty. It feels like, oh, hello. I've just read some poetry and I'm now going to look at plants. Is that my insecurity or is it a little bit like that?
No, there probably would be aspects of it a wee bit like that, maybe, if you know what I mean.
I just think Pat Kenny will be there.
I've been a lot of years now. I've yet to see Pat Kenny.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
It's just...
So, yeah, but no, Bloom is actually, if you're into gardening, sort of, for gardeners, it's like their ploughing championship, if
right.
you know what I mean. So
are you getting down?
No, not this
not
year.
this year.
I've been... Probably in the last 10 years, I'd say I've been 7 or 8 times.
You dip in and out.
Pretty much,
yeah. Okay.
It's, but
and it's
no,
food as well. It's food and nature, really, isn't it?
Yes, pretty much. No, if you're into gardening, it is definitely worth a visit. It's the middle of Phoenix Park. It's just literally beside Dara Snooker on there, so it's quite easily accessible.
Decent parking.
Decent parking, but local here, I don't know if they're doing it this year, but a few years there was a local bus company actually ran trips up and down the one day.
Which would make a lot of sense, yeah.
So it was actually a handy way of doing it, you know.
Brilliant stuff. 100,000 people expected in between now and Monday.
Yes.
So it's huge, like.
I know, but definitely if you're in the area, it is worth a look.
Okay, are foxgloves poisonous?
Yes, very much so.
How do you mean? To us, like if we ate them.
Yeah, if you were.
And would you get the skither, or would they be worse for you?
No, actually they attack your heart.
Wow.
Okay. So I think that's like your Agatha Christie. That's how they used to.
Oh, actually, now that you say it, now that you say it,
would be so.
Yeah. So, do you eliminate them, or just not go near them?
No, generally just let them go. You mind your business, and they'll mind theirs.
Can you replant the end of a scallion stalk? And if you did, of course you can replant it. But will it grow back?
Yes, it will. They'll be quite slow to grow back, if you know what I mean. There's sort of a lot of these things you see at the minute there. They'll be like TikTok hacks. Most people doing that. But yes, if you do plant another wee bit, you cut off. Probably if you're going to do it, cut it off a wee bit longer than you would normally.
Okay.
But no, generally within 3-4 weeks.
And do you plant that in its entirety underground? Do you put the bulb, the end down first, or the stalk down first? Or
Generally put the bit sort of wee stringy bits coming out, almost like put them either into soil or even into a glass of water.
Okay.
Just halfway up.
Yeah.
And it'll re-sprout. So some people do it just in a glass of water in the windowsill.
Oh,
Just
really?
Change the water about every week or so.
There you go.
And they'll grow away, or they're quicker if you put them into soil.
Yeah, okay. I read recently, or perhaps or TikTok, that if you put sugar on your lawn, it stops weeds. Is there any truth to that?
Yes, there is to an extent. Whether it'd be worthwhile doing or not, would be another question, if you know what I mean. No, but sugar does actually. Sugar makes, first of all, it breaks down the thatch a wee bit. Like the old dead grass in the bottom of it. But what it also does, sugar, whenever it dissolves into things, makes the nutrients more available, almost so the plants can take up more nutrients as they go. But I've heard of this before, but it's not so much a matter of repairing a bad lawn using sugar. It'll be like taking your very good lawn to a great lawn.
Right, okay.
If you know what I mean, like it'll be sort of the final step.
It's like bathing in milk.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay, right.
Pretty much.
You don't have to do it, but it might make your skin nice and soft. All right, I get you. But I'm just thinking in a practical sense, you know.
No, exactly,
I'm thinking of getting an indoor plant, Paul, that has low maintenance. Any recommendations?
Yes, probably, obviously, my go-to always in this sort of sense for having about the house is aloe vera, because it just absolutely thrives in neglect. But they're probably...
It flowers and all, doesn't it?
No, it doesn't flower.
Does
actually.
it not?
It's just almost like
I know. I can see the thick sort of leaves from it, but
it's like a cactus sort of thing. It's a succulent, so it
Yeah.
holds a lot of water inside.
Yeah.
So they're grand, very useful for burns.
Oh,
sunburn, things
fantastic,
like that
yeah.
there, but probably not the most attractive thing. If
Yeah.
you're looking for an attractive indoor plant, you'd be chatting. There are a few popular ones. A ficus is sort of a big green one. Would eventually, if you let it, gets quite into a big sort of substantial plant. But nice for greenery, good for purifying air. Or there's another one called a mother-in-law's tongue, which is it's almost like an aloe vera. Very good for air purifying as well. Or if you're looking for something to flower, the orchid's hard to beat. Once again, all them plants sort of thrive a wee bit in
Never
neglect.
see those things that look like palm trees. What are they? You know, you see them. They see them sitting in the corner of sunrooms and all, and no one
Yes.
ever waters them, and they don't die.
Yeah, pretty much.
Do they grow? Are they real?
Yes, no, for the most part they would be. Even though actually, sort of a lot of indoor plants now you get very convincing fakes. You know? But the sort of palm tree looking ones, a lot of them be bromeliads, which would be members of the pineapple family. So they would. Be.
And they just take the moisture from the air, do they?
Pretty much. A lot of them have sort of air roots. Other ones, just a wee bit of water, say every month.
Yeah.
Would do them grand because they come from very tropical climates.
Yeah, remarkable.
funny,
They're very grand plants, but they look
can be
almost
alright,
unreal. Yeah.
But a lot of things people in house plants, a lot of the reason feel is actually too much water and too much care.
But you do see similar plants to the ones I've just mentioned outdoors as well, and they seem to
Yes.
thrive as well and go great size. So they must be able to adapt their water consumption.
Yes.
I didn't cut back my roses this year and have a far better bloom. Is that a coincidence, or was I cutting them too far back?
To be honest, the sounds of it, you probably were cutting them too far back.
Yeah.
I would say as much as anything else. But it would be important just after this year, if they haven't been cut back, give them a wee cut back next year. Because like you'd be sort of building old wood and old wood. If you know.
Yeah, I get you. So you struck lucky this year. Just don't trim back as far next year.
Yeah.
Okay. Greg, please ask Paul, what's the best natural mix to kill bugs that are in the soil and eating all my veggies as soon as they appear?
Right.
Is there anything naturally that kills them, or is it actually discouraging
They're
them?
very little natural bug killer as
Yeah.
such, if you know what I mean. Depends what sort of bugs you're dealing with. You can sort of introduce other predators, a lot of for greenfly, that sort of thing. But you can actually order online. Would be like ladybird eggs.
Yeah.
And spread them about so they naturally kill off a lot of the bugs. We have a more natural way of approaching it.
Mhm.
The other thing I always advocate is the garlic spray, which is just boil a bulb of garlic, like the whole bit. Boil it for about 15 minutes in water, let the water cool, and then spray that on your plants, and it makes them less palatable to the bugs.
Yeah, so you're not killing them, you're just deterring them at that
deterring them,
point.
exactly,
Okay.
yeah.
I have a cherry, so you could maybe go on a natural route and maybe try and prevent it organically.
The other thing would be introduce a couple of sacrificial plants.
Yeah.
Like nasturtiums or something like that there that put them in among your vegetables that are sort of tastier to the bugs.
They take one for the team.
They'll go for them first.
All right. I have a cherry tree, but as soon as they begin to ripe, the birds take them. Then I put mesh over it, but it's too tall now. Is there anything else I could do to protect them until they have time to fully develop?
Effectively, no.
It's a toughie, isn't it? Yeah.
Pretty much, because you can put up stuff like you see people hanging up CDs or putting in sort of bird scares. That birds are kind of too smart for that, and they catch on to it fairly quickly. If you know, the bird netting is the most effective way, but I can understand if the trees
too tall.
big,
Yeah,
it's good hard to do. But
could you please ask Paul for a cure for a boundary thorn hedge where a section of it's been recently covered with a massive web, similar to cobwebs? I'm afraid it will smother and kill the hedge, which has been there for a lifetime.
Right. Funny, thorn would be very resilient, so
Yeah.
I would doubt whether something like that would kill it, if you know what I mean. Maybe sort of take a few photos of this web, if you know what I mean, and sort of bring it to your garden centre to identify what that is, if you know what I mean. But it could be another plant sort of interfering with it, if you know what I mean. But like I say, thorn's very resilient, so I would doubt whether it would actually kill it.
Paul, this is not really the garden, but moss on old tarmac or anywhere on the ground, is there really 100% solution for it? Like, if I've tried to clean it, I've tried to sort of treat it, and by the time it's beginning to look like it's dying away, it starts again.
Yes.
You know, and people can dig it out and you can burn it and stuff. People talk about washing powder and all that kind of stuff. What is the most effective way to get some relief from moss on old tarmac?
Moss and old tarmac, I suppose a lot of people do use the washing powder. That there used to be a very effective product for it, but it's gone off the market now. Not because it was toxic or anything, but because the people who made it retired and took the recipe with them.
Right.
Was stuff called Armilitox.
Okay.
But it was very effective. So basically, a lot of the thing to get rid of the moss sort of permanently, if you can improve the drainage, because moss tends to, and old tarmac sort of tends to gather in places.
The thing with mine is it's more like the and maybe it's the same with this listener, it's more like the structure of the tarmac's broken down.
Yes.
And you know, it's catching seeds and stuff. Do you know, because mine would be a good fall on mine, and I wonder if this is the same. It just feels like the integrity of the tarmac allows whatever's floating around in the air to catch and grow. Like,
yeah, but at the minute I don't know if anything is much more effective than the sort of washing powder, that sort of thing. Like, you do get algae killers that you can buy in garden centres, so some of them would work quite well, would kill it off. So check in your local garden centre. There are a few brand names that go under.
And as you say, maybe it could be a draining issue, maybe it's not, and you need sort of a nuanced response to it.
The other thing you do is actually an old tire. This can be sort of destructive in a sense, but whenever it is actually, if you do kill it off, try and remove it even with a light go with pressure washer or something, because the old moss lying there, even if it's dead, becomes sort of, like you said, catches more.
Yeah,
pretty much.
Does the law about cutting shrubs in small patches, gardens, etc.? Is there a law in relation to that?
No, there's a law of cutting back hedges and trees that goes from the 1st of March to the 1st of September. But no, it doesn't cover trimming in gardens.
It doesn't cover trimming in gardens, Mary, and that was specifically the question, so that answers that. Just time for two more. Any advice on how to cut pampas grass?
Pampas grass, traditionally you burned it.
Okay.
If it was safe to do so, what you do is just not petrol or anything like that, but actually just put newspaper within it and light it. Generally, it burns to the ground, and then it'll sprout up new again next year, or even later on the same year.
That sounds like fun.
Yes, pretty much.
I would like to do that.
Obviously, if not if it's planted around the oil tank.
No, of course not.
But otherwise, just sort of
anything that involves me lighting a fire and it's productive, I'm in it.
Right, okay. Good. So, otherwise, just get a saw and saw it off at the ground. But it can be very sharp on itself, so be
careful there.
A long sleeve jumper.
If people have patches of the lawn damaged by dogs peeing, how can you or what's the best way to individually treat those problem areas?
Generally, just give them a good rake over and reseed it.
Yeah,
where it's been killed off by the dog's pee. I think kind of neutralizes. Within a few weeks, so if you do repair it with a bit of grass, it will come back. Like it's not, there's no residual effect.
Yeah, right. Okay, so rake it, seed it.
Rake it, seed it, exactly.
Paul,
maybe mix a wee bit of sand in it just to keep the moisture in the seed.
Yeah, brilliant stuff. Thanks as always. Really appreciate it. That's Paul McLaughlin there from Ballochdarg Garden Centre. And we'll be back with more from you in a couple of weeks. Thanks, Paul.
Yeah, perfect.
And we'll be back with more today on the show after this break.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook, and at highlandradio.com.
Need some inspiration for your home renovation? Explore Cherrymore's kitchen and bedroom collections and create a space as unique as you. Book your design appointment today at cherrymore.ie. Proud sponsors of today's show.
Spoil your pet at Homeland Letterkenny's Big Pet event this bank holiday weekend. Enjoy 10% off all cat and dog food, 20% off cat towers, scratch posts, harnesses, collars and leads, plus 15% off wild bird tables, feeders and accessories. Offers valid in-store and online until June 2nd. Visit homeland.ie. Nationwide delivery available.
Brian McCormick Sports. New ASICS trainers in-store and online. ASICS Keano 32. The premier stability trainer. Designed with support and comfort. New colours for men and women just arrived. Brooks Ghost 16 for men and women. Reduced with 25% off in-store and online. Click on bmcsports.ie. Treat your feet with a visit to Brian McCormick Sports and Leisure. Main Street, Letterkenny.
Get more for less this bank holiday with Lidl Plus. Grill up fish, Board B approved meats or poultry, 3 for €9. And cool down with Guinness 15 packs, 15% off. Now an incredible $24.85 plus deposit. Scan your Lidl Plus app and enjoy more for less when you go full Lidl this summer. Get the facts, be drinkaware, visit drinkaware.ie.
PDO thread lifts and skin boosters, which rejuvenate the skin by improving facial contours, lifting and tightening the jowls, neck, cheeks and eyebrows, are available at Genesis Aesthetics and Skincare Clinic Gidor. To choose the right aesthetic treatment for you, contact Mary Ferry, your aesthetic practitioner. Also offering fat dissolving treatments, dermal fillers and laser treatments for all skin conditions. Hair and makeup packages also available. Genesis Aesthetics and Skincare Clinic Gidor, 07495 32575.
Get your home and garden summer ready with Watson Hire in Letterkenny. From lawnmowers to strimmers and compost to lawnmowers, they have everything you need to tidy, clean and green your space. If you're painting, inside or out, choose the best value paint in Donegal from top names like Fleetwood and Johnson's. Watson Hire, open 6 days a week at Lisnen and Letterkenny with great deals to have your home and garden looking their best. See watsonhire.ie.
Now, India Kennedy is Campaigns and Events Director with Ogra Fianna Fáil and joins us on the show now. India, thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having me, Greg, and hello to all your listeners.
I've been talking on this programme about period poverty for a very, very long time. And I think there's a certain section of the population, and no harm to them, don't actually believe that people could be so financially tight that they're picking up baby food over sanitary products. Or even maybe young girls coming of age and, you know, their parents are stretched and they don't have other access to this type of stuff. But it's a real thing. It's not just a catchphrase. Period poverty does exist in this country.
Yeah, and it's a very real issue, especially for women right across the board, from young women to women that are living just on the breadline and might be in a shop and see a family pack of chicken fillets or a box of tampons, and they have to make the decision to put their family first. And it's a basic human right. Women get their periods every month, and it's not something that we choose to get. It's something that we have to go through, and we shouldn't be forced into poverty for something that is an essential item for us.
And we've seen some brilliant initiatives here in Donegal, local schools, transition year projects where they've worked on this. And they've got period products in toilets and things like that. That's great where, it applies and where it's maintained. But there's a national strategy that's required here. So what do you think could be introduced that could end period poverty?
So at the moment, Ogra are calling for period products to be available in all public buildings. This was something that was piloted by Clare County Council, and it is widely used across Europe. I've just come back from Brussels on a delegation trip, and we were in the European Parliament and the Council of the Regions, and every building in Brussels, whether it was a small restaurant or the European Parliament, period products are available in all the toilets.
And how does that present? Are they in like a machine? Are they left sitting on the side? I'm not asking you if there's anything uncomfortable to speak about, don't say it. But I'm just curious. As how they're presented. Because it would have to be maintained, right? You can't just have them there. They run out. So, like, are they in vending machines or are they sitting on a counter, or how do you access them?
Well, for example, in the European Parliament building, they're similar to the vending machines that are available in toilets across. But instead of you put your money in and you pull it out, it just restocks itself, and you can take as much or as little as you want. And I think it's good to have things like that, because it's something that you shouldn't be embarrassed to say, oh gosh, forgot, I need, do you know, I need something myself. And in restaurants, every restaurant that we went to and every cafe we went to, there was just a small little box in the corner that had pads and tampons.
And it
you
just
could
normalizes, isn't it? Doesn't it, India? It just means it takes it out of, it takes
the stigma out of
and
it.
it also removes a problem. It's because also too, it can be, it's not just if you can't afford them, but it's also having access to them when you need them. You know, whether
exactly.
you're in a school, you don't have to go around necessarily asking people. But if you're out for something to eat, you do not know that you might at that time need one of these products. So it removes, social issues as well, potentially.
Exactly. And obviously I studied in Belfast, and in my first year I did a bit of work with the SDLP, and one of their MLAs actually put in a period poverty bill, to ensure that, similar to what Ogre are calling for now, that period products are available in every public building. And that was in April of 2021, or sorry, May of 2021. And then when I came back to college in second year, our college had period products. The local library in Belfast had period products. So it took the stigma away from it. So it's something that's very affordable. Another thing that we're calling for is the removal of VAT from sustainable period products like period pants and menstruation cups. And this is something that's been called for by our colleague Sorka Connolly, who works with the ALDE party. And it's just, they shouldn't be penalised for wanting to use sustainable products. So it's something that we are calling for in OGRA, and it's something that we want to see right across the board.
I'm also, what about education? Because, you know, like, I feel like what we're talking about is, you know, adults, and that's very important. But I wonder sometimes, you know, like, depending on a background, you know, a girl that's coming of age or what have you, is the conversation be had in school? Is there education there? Is there sort of access outside the home to these types of products in schools and what have you? I can just imagine a scenario where someone's going into school and this comes upon them, and, you know, maybe they're not talked about at home, or maybe they feel they don't have the resources home, and you can imagine you could feel yourself very isolated. Is there enough being done for that cohort, I wonder?
Well, I was very lucky. I have two older sisters, and so it was something that was very openly talked about in my house. But whenever we were in primary school, we were in 5th class, and our teacher actually pulled us aside, just the girls, not the boys, and said, you know, this is going to be a time where you might have your period in 5th class, you know, it might come early.
That's lovely, right?
And
Okay.
we were very aware that if it came, or, you know, if we found ourselves in that situation, we could talk to our teacher
Brilliant.
about it.
What a great teacher.
There was no embarrassment behind it. You weren't ashamed behind it. And the same was in 6th class. You know, there was products just behind the toilet. And our teacher said, if you need more, if you need less, just come and talk to me about it, or if there's something you're embarrassed by. But there is a certain stigma when you go to secondary school where, you know, they're not as widely available. It was something that we called for in the student council. So there was products available, but they weren't always restocked, and you could find yourself without. But a lot of girls are, you know, in 1st and 2nd year, they're very embarrassed to talk about it. But by the time you get to 6th class, or 6th year, sorry, you know, it's not something that should be embarrassed by. And I think that by calling for things like period products in public buildings, you can see more around you that this is not something to be embarrassed by. This is something that's available for you. Take it when you need it. Don't take it when you don't need it. And I think that just takes the stigma away from it.
And I think too, from the project I was speaking to the students from, it's a West Donegal school, and I don't want to wrongly attribute it, but the boys were involved in the conversation about access to these types of products. So it meant that it wasn't, oh, she said period. You know what I mean? It kind of just, it just was right. No, this is it. It's not funny. It's reality. Yeah. You're in, because, you know, there can be a vacuum that can be filled with a lack of understanding. I regret that we're still talking about this, because this affects every woman for the most part. Whether you're Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael, Sinn Féin, nothing, right? No party whatsoever. And, you know, it's not massive. We're not talking about a massive cost. We're talking about dragging things up into the mid-20s. The mid-20s in which we're at. So hopefully India Ogre Fianna Fáil's input onto this as well just gets it over the line, because it feels like this is something we shouldn't still have to be talking about. We should have this fixed.
Absolutely, and it's something that we as women shouldn't be embarrassed by. And I think that by putting period products into public buildings, it'll just bring the stigma away from it, and you'll never have to be without, and you won't have to, you know, you won't have to choose one thing over the other when it's something that happens every month.
Yeah, indeed. India, thanks for your time. Lovely
Thanks
to
for
chat to
having
you
me,
again. Bye-bye. That's India Kennedy, Campaign and Events Director with Ogra Fianna Fáil, 086 60 25,000. I just want to remind you that members of Magada Síochána across the county are going to be wearing purple ribbons on their uniforms on Friday. That's tomorrow, of course, to mark National Day for Domestic Abuse Awareness. It was scheduled to occur a couple of weeks ago, but coincided with the funeral of a Garda that was very sadly killed on duty. So was deferred, takes place tomorrow. It's been going since 2020, believe it or not, and it's a collaboration between the local Gardaí and local domestic abuse refuges. And it's about raising awareness, having the conversation again, destigmatising the situation. Donegal Town Garda Station, they're hosting a coffee morning between 11 a.m. and 1 p.m. Members of the Community Policing Unit in Letterkenny and Lifford, they're going to be out on the beat on Friday wearing their purple ribbons, distributing info about domestic abuse, support services, etc. And we heard from Grania on Tuesday. Garda Catherine Callahan, she's going to be out planting purple flowers in the flower bed outside Lifford Garda Station on Friday. So go along and get involved in that if you wish. It's a nice wee thing. It's very casual, and Garda Catherine, I'm sure, would be very welcome for people to come and help out or have a chat or what have you. And just don't forget that if you're a victim of domestic violence or someone you know who is, contact the Gardaí. They're there 999 112. In this county, there's been an awful lot of training. There's specialist Gardaí that work in this area. They can meet you. They can operate in plain clothes. There's lots of different things. There's even an app where if you are in that vulnerable situation, that you can sort of log your experiences and what have you. You can audio record and stuff. So there are tools there. Just don't be on your own. Don't endure. Don't be a hero, because these things escalate. We've often seen that. They do escalate. Hi, Greg. Just regarding the hospital, another thing that's lost in the hospital is that no one would even know about until you would need it. I need to get a tooth pulled, and because of the cancer treatment that I'm on, and if my bloods aren't right, my dentist says I may need to have it done in a hospital. Wait for it. Galway Hospital. Letterkenny Hospital always had this facility but never renewed it after COVID, even though the dentist from Derry has applied to return and has been told it won't be renewed again. Thanks, Greg. Just thought it's another massive loss, sending people to Galway to have a tooth pulled. You see, and as this, in fact, I believe this lady contacted me on the socials. You don't know until you need to get a tooth pulled, and if you're on certain cancer treatments, you might have to go to Galway to get a tooth out. I'm waiting on an appointment for my daughter to see a dermatologist. She's been referred to Dr. McKenna in Sligo by Letterkenny, but that was over a year ago. Is there any update on this service returning to Letterkenny? I've heard nothing of it. The problem in Letterkenny is the Polestar traffic lights switch lights off to let traffic flow. Traffic lights at Letterkenny Hospital to St. Connell's are also causing delays. Put pedestrian crossings with flashing amber lights and marks on road will let traffic flow down from Mountain Top. Well, there's more traffic lights going on, more roundabouts. The traffic lights on Letterkenny's Polestar roundabout were never designed to make things move necessarily quicker. They were designed so that everybody had an access to move. If you're used to a route that always moved okay in the old system, conversely, there are people that never got out of certain roads because the roundabout system just worked against them. Half an hour free parking, Letterkenny. When is this coming to Ballabafay? There was conversations about that, and I think it came to a vote, and there were some people not too keen on it. So I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon. I think you should be talking and highlighting all day today of the outrageous scandal of this government backing Israel financially on its murderous slaughter of innocent men, women and children in Gaza. They should all be hanging their heads in shame. No point in them giving token lip service about Israel anymore when you see how they voted yesterday. This was a Pierce Doherty bill, I believe. It was about Israel securing bonds, or to do with the bonds market. It was defeated. Two government-supporting TDs voted actually against the government. The argument being that the government said it was not compatible with EU law. I don't know the ins and outs of it. I want Ireland to stay neutral, says a caller. Our soldiers shouldn't get involved in Putin or Trump's war. When a lot of American soldiers came back from Vietnam, they were housed in a tent in San Francisco. A lot of them were affected by it. They ended up on the streets, wrapped in blankets, not able to look after themselves. Indeed, the vets in the United States, there's still, some would say, being neglected to this day.
Whether it's muddy boots or outdoor gear, Cherrymore's premium kitchen and storage solutions bring style and function to your boot room or utility. Learn more at cherrymore.ie, proud sponsors of today's show.
We love better value at Dunnes Stores. Toast to savings with a great selection of wine, like Silver Mauky Blush, just €7.50, and Santa Rita Sauvignon Blanc, just €8. And pop a can of your favourite Pringles, like original or salt and vinegar, now half price. Plus, you can save at the till with a 5 off 25 grocery voucher. Dunnes Stores, always better value. Terms and conditions apply. Voucher can be used on next in-store grocery shop of €25 or more. Voucher excludes alcohol. Please drink sensibly.
Charge into summer with TUI. Secure your holiday today with savings for families and adults flying from Dublin, Cork and Shannon. Holiday sorted. TUI. Live happy.
The Inish Tractor Run 2025 in aid of the Donegal Hospice, Friends of Inishowen Hospice and Bumblance is on Sunday, June the 1st, leaving from Bamba's Crown at 11. Everyone's invited to the big barbecue afterwards with an array of country music talent, including Mike Denver, Gary Fitzpatrick, Michaela Harkin, Shuni Crampsey and Liam McDermott at the Stables Malin. Buy tickets online or limited at the door. This ad is kindly sponsored by Donegal Tile Centre, just off the Polestar roundabout Letterkenny, the home of better deals.
Meet Dave. He's here to tell you why you should switch to Outsurance and save on your car insurance.
Hi, I'm Dave from Dublin. I made the switch to Outsurance and saved €178. I'm also on the way to getting 10% cash back with our Out bonus.
Like the sound of that? For a competitive car insurance quote like Dave's, call 1-800 600 400 or visit outsurance.ie. Real people, unreal savings. Outsurance. You always get something out. Based on a like-for-like policy comparison, the customer received a gratuity for their participation. Out bonus calculated less taxes and levies. Acceptance criteria, terms and conditions apply. Car and home insurance is underwritten by Outsurance DAC. Outsurance DAC trading as Outsurance is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Highland Radio weather updates with McElhenny's. Get set for summer with all new arrivals dropping every week, from fashion to footwear and homeware to cosmetics. Discover more in-store or shop online at mcelhennys.com today.
Okay, it's going to continue damp today, though less so in the afternoon. Temperatures 13 to 17 degrees, and a bit of sunlight might break through, because we always need a bit of sunlight in our lives. And well, I have a ray of it right now in front of me. It's the just the most stylish man, apparently, Noel Cunningham from Harvey's Point. Good morning to you, Noel. How are you getting on?
Good morning. Can you hear me, Greg?
Loud and clear, Noel. Congratulations.
Excellent.
On your...
very good morning to your listeners as well.
Congratulations on your recent award. Looking very dapper.
Well, honestly, I was traumatized because not too many weeks ago we were in Dublin with the Incognigent Dissenti and Those Who Matter. Yes. And there you were, crowned the best dressed, and I had to get counselling. So
I beat Noel Cunningham.
Absolutely,
Phil Coulter.
and deservedly
I'm
so.
not finished. The list goes on. Mickey Joe Hart, Matt McGranahan. I mean, there were so many stylish men there. And who came out on top? Monsieur Greg Hughes.
And deservedly so. You were a vision in sheer elegance and well-coordinated colour and accessories.
Thank you, my dear. Right, it's rolled around again. The Kevin Bell Repatriation Fund, the Kevin Bell organisation, is unbelievable. The amount of people they've helped, and they are just the most wonderful people themselves. If you lose someone abroad, you're dealing with getting that news and all the hoops that one. How do you get the remains of a loved one home? You shouldn't have to think about that. It's inhumane almost that you should have to think about that in your grief. And in steps an organisation like Kevin Bell, named after their own wonderful son Kevin, who died abroad, unfortunately. And over the years, Noel, the Kevin Bell Repatriation Fund have helped so many families, often under the radar, but it really is astonishing the work they do with people at the most difficult of times, Noel.
We truly forget, because we hear about some people in our own area or people connected with our own families, but this is countrywide. And, you know, when you suddenly sit back and think how many of our young people there are now making new lives abroad in Canada, Australia, different parts of the world. And the point you make is such a valid one. It's not just repatriating a remains, it's that tragedy that strikes unannounced, that immediately you have to wonder, what do I do? Who do I go to? Who do I call? What can be done? And they are there for all, not only just financial, but all of those other aspects. And every year I say this, they are, in my estimation, one of the greatest couples ever to turn such a tragedy into such a positive, and to think of the number of people throughout the country that they've helped down the years. It's extraordinary and wonderful. And, you know, it's a bit like the terrible curse of cancer in families. We are now, due to the fact that so many of our youth are away, and indeed not just youth, but older, and that we almost all know someone who was helped by the Kevin Bell Repatriation Fund. So I couldn't talk highly enough of them or support them in any way I can. And thank you, Greg, and thank you, Highland Radio, because anytime that I need to kind of garner support for anything that's being done for any cause, but particularly the Kevin Bell, you come and you help, and I am so grateful.
No, it's I've met the couple myself, and they are so normal. Actually, they're just perfectly normal. If you saw them walk, I mean, why wouldn't they be normal? Don't get me wrong, but they're just two normal people that have created something in their son's name that is so remarkable. It's almost like another branch of the emergency services. They really are something else. And Noel is involved in a walk. It's a moderate difficulty walk on Sunday at Slieve League. Now, there's two ways of approaching the weather for walking. Like, it's lovely in the sun, right? But it can be quite arduous and all that kind of stuff. But we are now just in the throes of the world throwing up its beauty and greenery and everything. And that smell brings out all this, you know, a bit of rain and misty smell brings out all the smells of wonderful Mother Nature. And what a lovely walk it will be, even if there is a bit of drizzle on Sunday, to see our beautiful county in all its glory. Noel, talk to me about the walk.
The walk itself is quite spectacular. I mean, I'm going back to a time, even my grandparents, my great-grandparents, they would have left their home maybe at midnight the night before fasting. They would have walked the pilgrim's path up to the top of the mountain, and their mass would be said. It was part of a pilgrimage at Torres, as Gaelica, and that is a path that the walk will take. They register at 12 noon at the Slieve League Centre, the Slieve League Visitor Centre. That is just round the corner from the Rusty Mackerel. Then at 1 o'clock, the 3 to 4 hour walk will commence. Very comfortable, very relaxed. And as you say, it's a very clearly defined path. It's not a very severe walk. It's a moderate walk. Yes, of course, when you're walking for 3 or 4 hours, you will know you've had a wee stroll. And you know, you drink in the atmosphere and that stunning scenery, the like of which you won't get anywhere in the world. There is nowhere quite as dramatic as Slieve League, and there's a lovely community spirit and lots of chatter and stop for a rest and bring a flask in your backpack and stop and have a cup of coffee. It's just a glorious outing, and you know you're doing it for a good cause. And,
well, that's it. You know, the one thing, the one thing about it, these things are very satisfying because you realize you become part of something greater than yourself. And I know that sounds a little bit twee, right? But in your way, you're gathering with other people and you're supporting the Kevin Bell Trust, but you're supporting other families. You're part of something greater. And
very much so.
You leave it feeling fulfilled.
Yeah, and there are people there on that walk on that day who are grieving. We forget that. You may not engage in that type of conversation, but unbeknownst to yourself, the support you are giving might just be so necessary on that day at that time. And the weather, I believe, on Sunday, it's actually going to be very reasonable. And funny enough, an extremely warm, hot, sunny day isn't always the best.
No, that's
day
the point
for the
I was trying. That was the point I was trying to make.
Yeah.
You know, you get to soak up our environment in a different way. The pictures of a beautiful sunny beach with the mountain behind are gorgeous, but some of the beauty of our landscape really pops when there's a little bit of rain about. You can go on your own, because the one thing as well about these walks, everybody is your friend. And you don't have to speak to anyone, of course, but you become part of something immediately as soon as you turn up for registration. So if you want to do something that will benefit others, but actually, benefit yourself, if you want to be a bit selfish about it, you will benefit from this.
No doubt about it.
Yeah, you get to the registration centre at 12 noon. The walk kicks off at 1. The weather looks like it's going to be okay. If you're looking for blistering sunshine, it's not going to be that day. But as I say, it's a different walk. It's moderate difficulty. It's a 3 or 4 hour walk. You'd want your boots, wouldn't you? And a rain jacket.
Absolutely.
No.
And apart that, anytime you have a bit of rain or it's a little bit wet underfoot, a pair of decent walking boots is always it's a good staple that you should have in your wardrobe if you enjoy walking. And as you say, Greg, it's just that wonderful camaraderie, walking, smelling those smells and listening to the sound of the sea and watching the wild. It's just a perfect outing for the Kevin Bell Trust. And people, you're only, as you say, you're getting a lot out of it yourself, and you really don't know how many others you're touching and supporting who might be carrying a greater load than yourself.
So what is the fundraising mechanism? Is there a charge for registration?
Oh, absolutely. You register at 12 noon, yes. And I am sure that, as has happened in other years, people also make donations and, help in other ways, and also we have a responsibility to others who may not have heard of this trust to keep telling people that the Kevin Bell repatriation, it's there, and it's there to avail of its services. So it's a multifaceted kind of outing for information, awareness, support, registration, and of course any donations. Even if you're not doing the walk and you are listening, then please do feel free to make a donation.
And the lovely Hugh Boyle in Ardra has texted in. Hi, Greg and Noel. Just learned about the walk on Sunday. If anyone is going to the walk or returning from it and passing the Glengesh Pass, please stop at Mel's Coffee Cart and we'll give them a free tea or coffee and a treat for this fantastic cause. So if you needed one further iota of incentive, there it is.
Isn't that aren't people wonderful?
I love people and I love our county. I love you. Bye-bye, Noel.
I love you too, and I'll see you on Glengesh on Sunday for a cup of coffee, Greg.
Slán go fóill. Thank you very much indeed.
God.
Take care. That is the irrepressible Noel Cunningham. Have a great day. We're back tomorrow morning with the Friday panel. We're back with the last episode of That's Entertainment in its current guise. It's been rejigged a little bit for the summer, and so much more.